live. We're just waiting for that band to rip.
Dan, we were live like the last 200 times we've been live.
No, but after the countdown.
No, we were live in the countdown.
Yeah, but there was nothing going on. But the
Dan is coming to you live from planet Mars.
Did I miss?
Yeah, I think you're. I don't. Maybe you're not catching it, but we just ran the regular intro like we always did there, Dan.
I must admit, I had to step away. I came back. I thought I saw this 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it. Did you say anything?
We played the intro.
Yeah, but then you didn't say anything.
The intro just ended. Welcome to the Krueg Show.
I gotta go back and watch it.
All right.
I gotta watch it again.
Welcome to the Pig in a Pickle Krueg Show. I'm Larry Krueger, Dan Coach Emilio, Bay Area baller. Frank Red will be in the house. Cyrus will join us. Warriors win on the road. We're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. Check them out in Emeryville. Open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville and open 7 days a week in Corte Madera. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket chili. It's all amazing. Thank you to Pig in a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. All right, we are off and running. The Warriors beat the Rockets on the road. The Warriors get a road win for the first time since the beginning of January, if you can believe it. 121-108. Golden State came out. They've been getting just absolutely bombed in the first quarter. Today they come out, they win the first quarter, 26-21. The second quarter was even, 29-29. Houston won the third quarter by a single point, 30-29. And then Golden State with a strong finish in the fourth. 37-point fourth quarter for Golden State, and they win it 121-108. Jonathan Kuminga, I thought, guys, was the star tonight. He was fantastic. Curry had 30. To go with 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 29 for Clay. But Kuminga gave them a great effort tonight in 26 minutes. He had 17 off the bench. He made 7 of his 9 field goals. He took 2 threes. He made 1. Grabbed 3 rebounds, dished 4 assists, had a block shot, +3, only a couple turnovers. I thought Kuminga was spectacular, and Golden State now 8-29 on the road. But it was a huge win for the Warriors. Guys, what'd you think? What was your primary takeaway?
Yeah, Kuminga's been spectacular really the last couple games. But mainly, Larry, if I heard correctly, I caught the first half on the radio, 14 turnovers in the first half. I was saying, what the heck is going on? They were throwing the ball away. I mean, 14 turnovers. Just for perspective, the Warriors average, last time I checked, 16 turnovers per game. And that's one of the higher turnover teams there is in the league. So to have 14 turnovers in the first half is ridiculous against a bad Rockets team who, is taken for Wembanyama. So that being said, Warriors had a really strong fourth quarter. The Splash Brothers didn't have the most efficient night shooting the ball, but they stepped it up when they needed to in the fourth quarter. Steph still finished with 30 points, Clay 29. So they got it done where they needed to. And you mentioned Kuminga, who was really, really good again. But also I want to mention Anthony Lamb.
Yes.
I thought Anthony Lamb in the second half was really freaking good. With the exception of the 3-point foul. I hate that they were fouling these 3-point shooters, and they looked kind of ticky-tack. We're talking about the Kevin Porter 3-point fouls. Right. But other than the foul Lamb committed on the 3-point shot, I thought he was really, really good tonight in the second half, knocking down 3-point shots. That's what they need from him to play sound defense, but also stretch the floor.
Yeah, I agree with you, Baller. He looked really good. Defensively, he moves his feet. He gets and stays in front of his man. He switches. He knows the game of basketball. And, that's why Kerr, I think, goes to him a lot, is because he can count on him. And I can't wait for Cy to get in here. I want to hear what he has to say about Anthony Lamb, especially since he's now part of the permanent roster. He's took up the 15th spot. And we kind of thought he would. I said last week, don't be surprised if he's on the roster by Friday night, which he was. He looked great. Kuminga is been saying it all year. I think he's a future superstar in this league. I just think he's not even tapped into what he can do when he starts really getting more aggressive with his shot. But I love the way he's playing right now. He's deferring. He's not forcing it. He's looking for the pass first, and then when it's there, he's taking it. But he's going to be – that's why I said, don't put him in any deal. So Kuminga looked great. You mentioned the shooting of Steph and Clay. Yeah, they were a little off tonight. They were 10 of 28 combined from the three, both of them, hitting 5. But, Poole looked really good with some sharp passes. Both assists to Draymond were unbelievable, and then the one to Kuminga. So, if Poole can play within the unit, within the framework of the team that Kerr wants him to do, he'll be fine. But when he starts, going ISO, I see Kerr having super quick hook.
I don't know if you saw. I mean, Poole was horrendous tonight. I mean, he was plus 13, but you look at the shooting numbers. Those shooting numbers are just god awful. 1 of 8 from the field. He takes 6 threes.
Yeah, but he did have 8 assists, though. So
he did have 8 assists, but he had 1 of 8, 1 of 6 from 3, 5 points in 26 minutes. This guy's numbers on coming off the bench versus starting, it's like what I think Jordan Poole really needs to do is be a starter on a second division type team. I think that's what kind of player he really is. When he played this year off the bench, you know what his numbers are? 14 points a game, 2 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, 0.6 steals. And when he starts, he goes from 14.8 a game to 24 a game.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's the sample size?
3.1 rebounds a game.
How many games has he started?
4.6 assists per game. He's a 43% shooter from when he starts, 41 when he comes off the bench, 33% as a 3-point shooter as a starter, 31 off the bench. He's making, though, 88% of his free throws as a starter and only 83% off the bench. Pretty startling, though. I mean, 24 a game is what he does when he starts, and when he comes off the bench, he's scoring 14. And it just seems like he just has a hard time getting any kind of a rhythm. He's just he's trying to get calls from officials that he hasn't earned that yet, or they don't want to give it to him, or whatever. And it's like, stop waiting around for it.
He did have one where he got pushed with the shot that he shot through a moonshot just off the side. He totally got pushed out of bounds, and they didn't even call it. I was like, how do you not call that a foul? Did you see that one there?
Yeah, I did.
It was
the thing is that when the refs see you kind of flopping and he's always going to the ground, guess what? You start losing the benefit of the doubt. The more often you're hitting the deck, if it happens 3, 4, 5 times a game, the ref's saying, okay, he's not getting fouled every time. And that's why they start swallowing the whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. There's no doubt Paul Martise's Poole got overpaid. There's just no question about that. He got dramatically overpaid. But a good win for the Warriors tonight. Plus 21 at the 3-point line. Plus 7 on the glass. Golden State had 31 assists, only 14 for the Rockets, who are not really playing team basketball. Warriors are plus 3 on the break, only minus 4 points in the paint. So, the 2 areas where they've gotten crushed a lot, points in the paint and on the glass, and they win tonight on the glass, and they held their own as far as points in the paint. But to me, I thought the first quarter was everything. I mean, you can't dig yourself into major holes on the road. You just can't. It just takes too much to overcome it. And they finally found a team that they can beat on the road. Now we'll see if they can get it done in Dallas next game. But this was about as close as it gets to a gotta have it kind of a game for Golden State. I mean, there's Kurt currently in the 6th seed, but I mean, my God, they'd lost 11 in a row on the road. They're only a half game out of the 7th seed, only a game out of the 9th seed, only a game and a half out of the 10th seed. So, it's really, really important for them to get this road win. So many road games down the stretch here, and they're going to have to get them where they can. And not, it was good to see. I mean, the fact that they turned it over 14 times in the first half, and then in the second half kind of solved that riddle. That was good to see. I mean, 14 first half turnovers for Golden State and 18 or 20 for the game. So only 6 in the second half. They really did a much better job of just taking care of the ball. And, I don't know. It's like, it almost seems like they're low energy at times. Is it possible that this team will be able to get to the playoffs and literally flip a switch and get to a whole new level? Or is that kind of wishful thinking?
I don't think it's necessarily flipping a switch, Larry, but what they need is they need Andrew Wiggins and they need Gary Payton.
Yep.
Those are the two guys that could potentially really help this defense that we know has been so poor all year. I mean, Gary Payton, can we just think about how good Gary Payton is on the defensive end? Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say he's the best on-ball defender that I've ever seen. What I saw last year, him on the ball, how many times did we see him just pick the pocket of other professional basketball players, other point guards, just get the ball taken from him? It felt like it happened once a game. And so getting Gary Payton, getting Andrew Wiggins back, if he can get back to his playoff form, and really even when the little he has played this year, he was playing spectacularly. Early on in the season, he had career numbers when you're talking points per game, rebounds, 3-point field goal percentage. Before, he got injured, what was it, the abductor? Then he had the illnesses. Before all that went down, Wiggins was playing a phenomenal brand of basketball.
Yeah. And we still don't know what the deal is with Wiggins. And, people are speculating he's having girlfriend issues and this and that. I have no idea what the deal is. It's a weird situation. It's like, okay, if it's a life and death, here we go. We welcome in Cy Satsis. Cy, we were just talking about
What's
Wiggins.
Up, Cy?
We had just gotten to, we just did a little brief breakdown of the game, but we're talking about Wiggins now. Wiggins just kind of came up, and there were people speculating that he's having girlfriend problems and this and that. I don't know what the deal. What's that?
Is he having girlfriend problems? Is that
I don't know. Somebody was speculating on that.
I can't go. I'm not touching speculation, man. That's one thing.
Yeah, I hear you. I just mentioned that somebody was speculating on that. All I'm saying is, it's kind of a weird situation from the standpoint of course, if he's having any kind of family issues, those supersede his commitment to the team. But then people have said, well, if it's just a situation where he's having some kind of a disagreement with a girlfriend or a wife or something, that there's some expectation that you play through those things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We don't know what it is. And everybody's being very sensitive to not, make any kind of statements or any kind of, because it's his own private business. But eventually it is going to probably come out, I would imagine, as to why he's missed all this time. And then people are going to get to judge for themselves if they feel like that is worthy of him missing that much time. And there could be some pushback, and who knows what the circumstances are. We don't know who knows? For all we know, the Warriors are just like, hey, you know what? Any problem you have at all, if you're not in the mental state to play, sit it out, right? We don't know. We're assuming that it's very serious, that it's something that is really, really vital, the health of somebody, or
it is
something
him,
really
sure.
deeply troubling.
Players have said that too. His teammates have said that too. They've said that they feel really bad for him, and they would not want to deal what he's dealing with. So his teammates have also insinuated whatever it is, it's serious.
There's some rumors out
Yeah.
there with, and I'm not going to get into, like I said, it's speculation, but I will just say this: if what has been said is possibly true, I could see where it could totally mess his head up.
I will say this: his girlfriend came out on Twitter and denied that the rumors are true. Her TikTok account, like a week ago, shared something where Andrew was in the video too. I did see that. Someone shared that with me, and so beyond that, I have no idea what's going on. All I hope for is that his kids are okay. That's the one fear I keep going back to, is that, there's a health issue with his kids, and I just pray that's not what's going on. I brought it up on tonight's show. Like, are we ever going to find out? Like, the question I posed is not whether or not Andrew Wiggins has an obligation to tell the public, but whether or not the Warriors, a team whose entire business structure, their entire financial model, the NBA's for that matter, is predicated on fans and their interest. Do they have an obligation at a certain point to tell their fans why one of their star players is now missed 16 games in a row? And, the injury report just keeps saying personal reason. Like, that's very vague and ambiguous. But I also found out, and I posed this question to another reporter, like, are we ever going to find out? And he said, yes, during the exit interviews at the end of the season. That is when we will find out at the absolute latest why Andrew Wiggins has been out as long as he's been out. So it's up to the Warriors, I think, at this point. I mean, Wiggins is I don't think he's ever going to come out and tell people what really happened. So it's going to be, it's going to be on the Warriors and whether or not they're going to release this information. And I don't know. I'm curious. I feel like with each day that passes, the curiosity is just driving people more and more insane, because I think we all want to know what's going on. It's just crazy, man. I don't know.
Shoot, the Jazz just going to beat the Kings here tonight without Lauri Markkanen. So that's that's a bummer for the Warriors, because, that's one of the teams that's right in there with the Warriors now, probably a game back of the Warriors. So,
Cy, what was your takeaway on the game tonight?
Kuminga was awesome, right?
Yeah,
he was where he's growing right before our eyes. There was even just one play where he just pulled up for a simple mid-range jumper, and it just looked so clean. Like I'm so excited to see what he looks like when he's like 22, 23. It's insane that he's just 20. Stephen Curry was interesting. I mean, Stephen Curry over the last 2 games has had 10 turnovers. So, that almost masks the 30 points he put up. He struggled a little bit from the field. Klay Thompson finally had a good game for once in this road trip entering tonight. He was putting up each night he was putting up 14 or 15. So he had 29, which is awesome. So yeah, I thought Moses Moody actually got a run in the first half, and it wasn't a detriment. It's never a detriment. I've decided I've had to start shutting it down on Locked On with the live shows in the chat. Like, just people just troll and want to keep hating on him no matter what. And I just cleaned that up. I can't stand that anymore. I don't know why he's not getting more of a run, but that 8 minutes in the first half was exemplary. I thought he played great ball. I do give Anthony Lamb his kudos for the second half in terms of his offensive play. I still am not a huge fan of his defense, but offensively he wasn't a negative, and they won, man. It was the Rockets, arguably the worst team in the NBA.
What didn't you like about his defense in the second half? I thought he looked really good.
You mean besides the fact that people blow by him routinely, despite the fact that at 6'5" and he's guarding 6'8", 6'9" guys who just shoot over him without any.
I saw him keeping guys in front of him, blocking out, switching. He got that one. Should have been a 24-second violation in the.
We had a block. I saw him block a shot, but I thought Lamb was good defensively, except for the fact that he fouled the 3-point shooter. I mean, I hate fouling 3-point shooters, so that was one thing I docked him for. Other than that, I thought Lamb.
Also, that
really
3-point.
But I like the minute distribution tonight, and I think Cy can get along with that too, because I know Cy's been preaching Kuminga needs more minutes.
Yes,
Kuminga got his 26 minutes. Kuminga's been playing exceptional ball, even dating back to the last game that the Warriors lost. Kuminga was sensational.
Oh, even before the injury, he was coming around.
Yeah, I like the minutes distribution, just the fact that Kuminga got his 26 minutes, and you guys know I'm the Lamb guy of the bunch, but I think 17 minutes, don't overdo it with Lamb. I think 17 minutes when he's running hot and he's having a good game, I think that sounds about right for Lamb.
Why is that
Too much,
Moses
maybe.
Moody, who has the best plus minus on the road trip, only plays 8 minutes?
Exactly. And again,
here's a bigger question. The Warriors have a lack of firepower. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but look at some of the other teams in the league. They I mean, I don't love the way they play defense on the road. That's a big issue. But I just think that they lack some firepower. I mean, who can score? Green can't score. Looney can't score. So you got Curry and Thompson. DiVincenzo's not a scorer. He's a nice all-around player, but he's not a scorer. Kuminga's an athlete, but he's not a scorer. Jermichael Green's not a scorer. Lamb. I mean, Poole. This team's got to get points off the bench from Poole and from Moody. Otherwise, they don't have enough scoring. I'm more worried about. I think they're going to get into some games this year in the playoffs where they're just not going to be able to keep up. They're not going to be able to keep up offensively.
Well, if they don't get Wiggins back, it's not going to matter, right? I mean, they're not going to win a title if they don't get Wiggins back. So they have to get him back. But I agree with you. That's one of my many beefs. Like going back to the Lamb thing, he's not a playmaker on offense. He actually had a good shooting night tonight. He went 3 for 4 from deep, but it's not like he's handling the ball like switching it up, attacking the paint. He's an average player, man. I don't get it. And I guess I'm going to have to I did this with Ty Jerome one time and it pissed people off, but I'll do it again for Anthony Lamb. I guess I have to make literally a video clip of every single defensive lapse he does because I'm watching him intently. And all I see is people driving by this guy. He's just an average player, man. He's not someone who I feel belongs on a world championship team. There's a reason why he went undrafted. There's a reason why the Houston Rockets cut him. And for some reason, Steve Kerr loves him. And you two, half of this show is smitten with him. I'm not, man. I think he's a detriment to this team.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is there are times when he's effective. Yes, but it's never anything that you're like, yeah.
Well, he's not gonna win you games.
He's quietly effective at times,
but he's a guy.
He's got basketball IQ.
Yeah, I think that's what he likes. Kerr likes him because he can rotate and he can do a better job defensively than obviously Jordan Poole when he's out there. Poole is the guy that to me is. They just drive right by him, and then it forces other guys to switch and pick up him, and then the other guy's left open. So it all starts at the top of the key. That's why it's so critical that GP2 gets healthy and plays because he can lock guys down at the top, which will allow Draymond. I mean, I'm looking at Sabonis tonight, and I'm thinking, who can guard Sabonis if they play Sacramento? Well, Draymond can if he doesn't have to switch. And and when they play other big guys, Draymond can cover and Looney can cover these big guys if they're not having to pick up the blitzing guard coming down the lane.
By the way, on GP2, he's expected to be reevaluated Thursday. Yeah. A week ago today, the team announced that he began on-court activities. If that went well, contact drills and scrimmaging should begin soon after that. 808 Niners says every time Jordan Poole does something positive, he has to do two things negative. Shot decision was awful. His D was non-existent. He's a cone out there. That's a pretty funny way of saying it.
He is bad. I did a poll on the Locked On Warriors Twitter account. I do that sometimes just to kind of get the temperature gauge of Dub Nation, and 2/3 of people responding were completely okay if the Warriors trade him. And his defense, that surprised me a little bit for someone who's a sixth man on a world championship team. But I can't defend him, man. I can't. His defense is awful. Tonight, for example, I mean, he had 8 assists in his 26 minutes, which were great. He wasn't a detriment out there because he was a plus 13 in the plus minus, but he went 1 for 8 from the field, 1 for 6 from deep. I mean, he turned the ball over 2 times, which is not great. It's by his standards, they're okay at best. But he's not. He's a problem, man. I don't know what they're.
He's been disappointing. He's been disappointing this year. They gave him all this money. You're hoping, he's going to shoot. We feel like he has a good shot, but I mean, what is he at? 33% this year. I mean, that's disappointing. 32.
He doesn't play well. The bigger issue is that the fulcrum on this Warrior team is and will be Steph Curry, and it doesn't seem to play well with Steph Curry. So it's like, if Steph gets run over by a car and Poole's got to play, yeah, he's a pretty good option. But if he's got to play with Steph, it doesn't look as good. We welcome in Frank Red. Red, what'd you think of the game tonight? Warriors got a much-needed win on the road against the Rockets. It is the Rockets, and the Warriors did turn it over a bunch, and the Rockets turned it into 20 points.
20.
But 121-108, Golden
half.
State pulls away with a strong fourth. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, like I said before, the last time I was on, I talked about a coach who I respect giving me the perspective of looking at the game as 4 individual quarters and then assessing the team based on that analysis. And if you look at the late third, early fourth quarter, they did some championship caliber things. And that gives me hope because it's really about consistency. I thought that this was the best coach game that Krueg had in quite a while. He went against his tendencies not to play his younger guys. He played his younger guys more than he normally would, and they rewarded him by integrals of solid play. I heard you guys talking about Jordan Poole. You know what? I actually thought this was one of his best games he's had in a while because instinctively he was looking to pass the ball.
Mhm.
Yeah, he had 8 assists.
And that's his job. I mean, okay, if he doesn't shoot well, I don't care because it's not about what you score. It's about what you give up. So this was not a perfect game, but, man, when you got Clay, Steph, Draymond, as long as you're getting contributions from your auxiliary parts, you got a chance. Now, this might sound like hyperbole. Kuminga's high ceiling is he might make an all-star game one year or two. Or he might be just a wild guy, but I'm impressed
Higher
with
than
him.
that.
Man.
How higher than that, right? I mean, just an all-star game or two. He could be a superstar in this game.
Well,
You
I
don't
mean,
think he-
That's what I think, yeah.
well, you know what? I don't want to come on and jump to the stratosphere, but I saw some things from him that make me go, wow.
yeah.
And
Him.
intellectually, he's getting better.
He's only 20.
So this win felt good. It didn't look real good at times, but it felt good because I needed to have it. And I can point to a lot of things that I saw improvement.
We were talking before about first of all, we have this one from Gilbert, who's got a message for Cy. He says, guys, tell Cy to stop bullying his chat members on Locked On.
You know what he considers bullying?
Are
He
you
considers-
bullying? The Krueg Show is officially anti-bullying channel.
Well, what's
Everybody, we all voted at the beginning of the year. I was against bullying. Frank was against bullying. Only Dan voted as a pro-bullying platform. The rest of us are very strongly against bullying. But
Well,
Did we
Gilbert's
bully
upset
people?
because I've told people repeatedly during the live shows to stop being like a contrarian when it comes to Anthony Lamb. And because I'm seeing all this crap while I'm doing a live show, and sometimes it's just me or it's just one of their co-hosts. And I've made that request very firm. Stop hating on Moody. Stop sitting here defending Lamb. I get it. So there's some of you that like him. Fine. I don't. If you have a differing opinion, host your own damn show and praise Lamb all you want there. But they keep doing it. So I started blocking people because it's distracting from the show. And if that's bullying,
I like it.
call me bully.
Hey, Tim Kawakami just weighed in. He said it's all right to block. Jim Molay says, no offense, but it better be worse than girlfriend issues for Wiggins. I mean, Jimmy's weighing in there. Give me your thoughts on that. What if it's simply something along the lines of having girlfriend issues?
Listen to a Jay-Z song, man. All right.
I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I don't think
we got
that's
this
it.
one.
I don't think that's it.
99
Camilo
problems.
Dorado, Baller sipping on some syrup. What do you got
Cheers.
going there, Baller?
It's an 805. I'm really liking this 805 Cerveza. It's got
Nice.
I think it's got some lime in there, something. It's ready to roll. Just crack it open.
As far as Golden State tonight, Frank, I mean, Golden State got off to a good start in the first quarter. That's been like, if there's been any common theme of their struggles on the road, they come out, they dig themselves a hole. They spend a lot of time digging out of it. Against Houston, at least they came out and took the first quarter. how vital did you see that as, how key was that to the victory? The fact that they had a positive first quarter.
It's everything because the metrics show you that at 33, 34, 35 minutes, their core players' productivity starts to diminish. So if they have to climb a hill that's insurmountable, they lose those games. So having that mindset that they have to come out and exert energy to be around their opponents or slightly above, I think is a key to winning. And I give Curry a lot of credit because I'm sure Curry hasn't slept very well the last couple of days because he knew he had to win this game. And he was beating that over the head of his core championship caliber players, and they responded. So I think it's everything. I really do.
So, what did you think? I mean, it was good to see the first quarter, them get off on the good foot. I mean, is there anything that you could point to and say why they have not started well in these games, especially on the road?
Well, a huge part of it is the turnovers are a massive issue. Like I said, Stephen Curry has 10 in the last 2 games alone just by himself. Steph and Clay each had 6 the last game, which is the first time in their careers they both did that in a single game. Dante DiVincenzo has replaced Andrew Wiggins in the starting lineup, makes your lineup smaller as a result because you basically have a 3-guard lineup unless Clay's no longer considered a guard. So it's just a combination of factors, man. Like without Wiggins, this is not a championship team. Without Wiggins, they're trying to be a playoff team. Because we were talking about him being the second best player on this team not that long ago. When they're at home, we forget about all this stuff, right? Because they're incredible at home. When they're on the road, all these glaring issues stick out. I agree with Frank in terms of Kerr's coaching in the first half. I thought it was exemplary. He was playing, and part of it is, and I know that the Lamb thing is tiring. It's beating a dead horse, but Anthony Lamb was the 10th man off the bench tonight, and this Warriors team had 10 people total active. That's what you're supposed to do. JaMychal Green should be coming off the bench before you. Jonathan Kuminga should be coming off the bench before you. Moses Moody played 8 minutes in the first half, and they were not detrimental. He was actually playing great defense. He hit a big 3. So I agree, man. And then in the second half, for some reason, Kerr abandoned that a little bit. But they won, so all good.
He uses timeouts, though. That's what he did well in the second half, specifically. He uses timeouts.
Well, and he had that injury, that weird injury, right? Where Jordan Poole, his head hit Stephen Curry's knee. Mm-hmm. That was bizarre, man. That was just a freakishly wild injury because it was the same knee that Steph hurt. And that totally threw a wrinkle in Kerr's plans too.
Absolutely. That made me nervous. And I want to acknowledge DiVincenzo. He didn't have a very good night shooting the ball. But what I love about Dante is he controls what he can control. And that's effort. He's going to attack the glass. I mean, tonight, the Rockets player had the rebound. I think it was KJ Martin, had the rebound in his hand. DiVincenzo comes flying in, just rips it away from him, dishes it to Looney under the basket. He gets a bucket. So it's like DiVincenzo, that's what I love about it. You can't control hitting every 3-point shot. But what you can control is defensive effort and the way you attack the glass and your energy. And that's what I love about DiVincenzo.
Chardal says, here's a donation. He says, hey, Larry, can you send me the StreamYard link? He badly wants in. Chardal, okay, let me do this, Chardal. I'll put it in there. You can call up. We're going to give you a solid, how many minutes, guys? How many Chardal minutes? Danny?
2.
2
2
minutes
for Chardal. A minute, $1 a minute.
That's right. $1 a minute. You're at $1.99. So 2 minutes for Chardal. So Chardal, if you pop in there, if you want to donate another $2, we can hang up and then have you come back on for 2 more minutes. That'd be kind of fun. Just keep taping 2-minute segments.
Or if he wants
MF says Casey Schmidt will be a bust. Oh my God.
I don't believe that.
I just said a video on they need to promote.
Who is
Casey
he?
Schmidt.
Enlighten me. Who's Casey Schmidt?
Giants third baseman.
He's in the G League. No, he's are you kidding me? They just signed him to a 10-day. No, he's Giants. The only guy on the Giants worth watching. Right now.
Oh, okay.
Casey Schmidt.
All right, noted. I'm going to get back into baseball this year. The clock is going to get me back, so I want to start doing my research. And
we had Townie on last night. By the way,
I know we messaged before he came. I know we were messaging before he came on with you. Yeah, him and I were texting. He wanted some pointers on the Krueg show. So how was that?
Look at this one. Fish and chip. It was pretty good. Larry bullied Dan Kruger. Oh, come on. It's only bullying if Dan couldn't stand up for himself. We're just having fun with Dan because he's our friend.
That's true.
All right. Well, as far as Golden State, there was a chat in here before that I lost track of. I should have flagged it, but it was basically saying the Kings are going to beat the Warriors. If the season ended today, the Denver Nuggets get the play-in winner. Memphis gets also the play-in team, right? The sevens, they would get the 7 seed. I guess no, they would get Dallas. Memphis would get Dallas. Sacramento would get the Warriors in the 3-6. How would a Warriors-Kings first-round series go, in your guys' opinion? Let's go around the room. Danny, let's start with you. 3-6. Kings are the 3, Warriors are the 6. First-round series in the West. Give me your prediction on it.
Be a great series. I think it'd be 6 tightly contested games, and the Warriors would win in 6.
Warriors in 6. Baller?
Well, I hate to throw caveats out there, but if you're giving me Andrew Wiggins, I'm taking the Warriors. But
yeah,
if Andrew Wiggins ain't coming back,
they're not going to beat him without Wiggins.
I think Sacramento, unfortunately, is going to win the series.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That is a good caveat because I did say earlier, without Wiggins, I don't think the Warriors may even win the series.
Rye or Asai, I mean? By the way, somebody said, is Ryan going through girlfriend drama? Rye was definitely invited. I don't know. Danny, have you talked to Rye?
I have not heard from Rye.
He's big leaguing, man. He's big leaguing. He's got better things to do, apparently.
He's a busy man. He's a man on demand.
What are we predicating this on? Is it a fully healthy Warriors team? No Wiggins?
Just based on here we are. It's the 20th of March. If the season ended today, they're matching up. I think you got to assume the return of Wiggins.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you guys know much more about Wiggins' situation. I haven't read the rumors. I don't know what people are saying. All I know is I turn on the game and he's not there. I got to think, though, based on what I've heard Bob Myers say and others say, that he will make it back for the playoffs.
They have said that before.
Let's assume, for the sake of this, that Wiggins is there. I think we all agree. No Wiggins, no chance.
Okay. All right.
Are we in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say Wiggins is there. What's a Warriors-Kings first-round series going to look like?
I'm going to agree with Dan. I'm going to say Warriors in 6. I think if the Warriors are fully healthy and they like Gary Payton II comes back, he's his old self. Wiggins comes back, he gets his conditioning, he gets his rhythm, his mojo is all like just in time for the first round of the playoffs. I still think the Warriors are winning the whole damn thing. I really do. So no offense to the Kings fan. I also feel awful, man. Someone in here wrote that when I yell, I scare you. But my yelling thing is like a Stephen A. Smith type shtick, man. It's Mike the Mad Dog shtick. But I maybe I'll tone it down. I don't want to scare anyone, dude. So
are you scaring people? I mean, I
guess I am. There's one person said in the chat that my yelling is scaring them. So I'll tone that down. I feel bad.
Before we give Chardal his 2 minutes, you like Warriors to win the title. So obviously I like him.
If fully healthy. Yeah. Okay. Only because here's why I say that. They're not as good as last year. It's very obvious. But outside of the Clippers, no one else in the entire NBA scares me when it comes to the Warriors. No one else. So the Clippers put a little fear in me just because Kawhi he looks good. He's looking really good.
Warrior
and
killer,
world championship experience to me is a variable people routinely gloss over, and it's why the Warriors, I routinely pick them. But the Clippers have that too, at least with their superstars. So, but yeah, I do. I think they're going to win a world championship if they're fully healthy.
Frank, what do you think?
I think there's some mitigating circumstances, and I think the Warriors need to win Game 1 if they play Sac. If they don't win Game 1, then I don't think they don't. I don't think they'll win because I think that the lack of depth that the Warriors, even with a healthy team, like I don't expect Wiggins to come back and be 100% ready to go. I think it takes him some time to kind of work into it. Sac is just better. Sac is better, but the Warriors are more experienced and they can win. So 6 or 7 games, 6 or 7 games. The Warriors win game one, I think Sac will be shook a little bit. But if Sac wins game one, they have a lot of momentum right now. And they consistently win on the road when they're down in the fourth quarter. That's impressive. It really is.
I think I agree. Game one, it's all about game one. You know, Sacramento hasn't been to the playoffs in forever. Maybe they show a little nerves. Maybe they show some uneasiness. Maybe they play an uncharacteristic game. I think Golden State gets them, but I think it's a knockdown drag out. I'll say Warriors in 7 over Sacramento. But I do think I think game one is everything. If the Kings get game one, I think they win the series.
Well, let me ask you guys this: does it not play a factor? Because I think this plays a huge factor. That whenever you have the teacher and the pupil kind of scenario, in this case, Kerr versus Mike Brown, the teacher wins like 99% of the time, and I think that plays into this a little bit as well in terms of
it does generally, but in this case, Mike Brown is actually a head coach before Kerr was a head coach, most of the guys that Kerr, you know, they were guys that were under Kerr. I mean, Alvin Gentry coached, I guess, as well prior, but you know, Mike Brown, he coached the Cavs and the Lakers, right? Yeah. I'll say this with Wiggins. To me, he needs to be back for the last 4 games, which is April 2nd, you know, to gear up, because it's going to take 4-5 games just to get in basketball shape. If he's not, you know, he's got to come in almost in the next 3 days, 4 days, because he's got to ramp up, and they're not going to just throw him out in the game once he comes back. He's got to do some scrimmaging and all that. That takes close to a week. So, you know, if he comes back and just, you know, hasn't played a game and comes back 2-3 days before the playoffs, I think you're getting a really bad version of Andrew Wiggins.
I mean, he'll be rested, but he'll be rusty. You know, it's rusty, the rest versus rust debate. All right, we welcome in Chardal.
Oh, sup?
Chardal with the glasses.
Yeah.
Chardal, you wanted to be in. You're in. What say you?
Is ticking.
We couldn't hear him. Oh, he's gone. Now he's gone. Nice meeting you. That was awesome. Very insightful.
What happened? What happened? What happened to Chardal?
Come on, Larry. What'd you do?
Stage fright? I didn't execute him.
Did you?
No.
Here, let's put him back in there.
It was bright wherever he was, though. It was a very bright room.
He might have been muted. He might have been muted there.
Here, wait. I'll kick him from the studio.
Chardal's got a good setup.
So then Chardal, try it again. We'll go take 2 on Chardal, but we don't go take 3. It's a take 1, take 2 kind of a thing. You know,
Luke Luna says that was 2 seconds, not 2 minutes.
95.7 Brian says, I'm afraid there are too many agendas with the Warriors that they can solely focus on basketball. Myers doesn't have a contract. Green might opt out. Clay's pressing. Poole doesn't know his role, etc.
These guys are professionals. They're not thinking that. When they get into the playoffs, I'm telling you, it's like it's like this. Really, the season starts over again. It's like they're going in as the NBA champs. I just think if Wiggins is healthy and Peyton is healthy, and those guys have that mojo that they can go in and they'll step it up. There will be another level.
It's about, what do you believe? Do you believe the NBA regular season counts for something? Or do you believe the NBA regular season counts for nothing? If you're a believer that the NBA regular season does not count and that none of this is important, then what Danny said is right on the money. They're the champs. They're in the playoffs. All right, it's go time. Flip the switch. Here we go. Roll the ball out. And, you know, they got a great shot. Personally, I don't think the NBA regular season counts a lot, but I think it counts some.
That's why
I don't think you can just flip a switch.
That's why, what's his name? The commissioner wants to throw in this tournament, mid-season tournament.
Well, I just think we're going to talk about that too. I mean, I think they just see the popularity of the NCAA tournament format, and they know that they have better players, better officials, and an audience for their game. I just think that the NBA looks at the college hoop and says, why are we Why are they getting numbers we're not getting?
Plus, they have
And they
partners
think it's the
now.
format.
Plus, they have partners now that they didn't have. They have allegiances with gambling organizations and packages. If they identify it for one location, Vegas packages or whatever. I mean, follow the money. I tell you that right now. I mean, there's some competitive benefits to doing it, but follow the money. They probably already crunched the numbers already and realize that they can make some dollars out of it.
All right, Brian Iglesias, put Brian's comment up there.
Mark Rage just said size scared him.
I know.
LOL.
I'm sorry. I'm the frightening
Put Brian's Iglesias comment up there, Larry.
CW says Larry's bullying again. Let me see.
For me,
Brian, by the way, is going to be. I think Brian's going to be a media member covering the Warriors soon, if not already. He was telling me he got some gig, and I told him once his work starts getting published, he will be invited as a guest on Locked On Warriors. So,
hey, Cy, I'm ahead of the game. I got Brian coming on my channel on Thursday.
oh, well,
I
there you
already
go.
reached out to Brian. Brian's got all these comments that are so thought provoking. I already hit him up. I said,
In my
Brian,
defense, he's
when are you
been
available?
covering the Niners for a little while now, right? So if you're going to if you're having a Niners discussion, he's already like a published writer for that. I told him he has to start actually publishing work covering the Warriors. But if you do that, you're on the show. So
Brian says, Dan,
I want to take him
they're
on.
pros, but they are still humans. They think about it, and it's showing on the court. They're 8-29 on the road. And then he finishes his comment with a, come on.
Okay, so come on, let's put some money on this, Brian. I'll bet you if the Warriors play whoever in the first round, if they have Wiggins and GP2, and they go in healthy, they're not missing Steph or anything like that, I'll bet you a C note that the Warriors win the series.
Yeah, I don't think their bad road record is as impactful
You up for that, Brian?
as people say it is. I mean, look at their home record. Should they be 29-7? I mean, give me a break. I mean, you would think some teams would come in there based on the same players they have and beat them, but it doesn't happen. So it's all about what is their potential and what is their high. And their high is better than a lot of teams. Intellectually, the way basketball, I mean, in the early fourth quarter tonight, the passing, I mean, even Anthony Lamb, I wasn't the biggest Anthony Lamb fan, but I got to tell you, he's turned into a pretty good student. Defensively, he's more instinctive now. He's not fouling as much. His body movement, man, this team Wednesday night is going to tell a lot more than tonight did. That game is going to get super ratings. Larry, your show's going to blow up on Wednesday night if you decide.
Wednesday night against Dallas.
Oh my
It'll be a
God!
tough one to win.
4:30 start time, so it should be over by 7. Yeah,
It's a dinner time extravaganza.
yeah. I don't know if Brian's going to take me up on that, but I haven't seen any.
He'll jump back in here when he does.
In
We'll put
chat,
it up
but
there.
I'm ready to take that on, and that's the
What's
first
the wager,
round.
Danny?
The Warriors, if healthy, if they've got Wiggins playing, even if they don't have GP2, I think they'll still win the series with Wiggins. But if they got a healthy team and they go in fully healthy with Wiggins mentally focused and GP2 playing, wouldn't shock me for the Warriors to win in whoever they play in 5.
I'm going to stay with the same prediction I had all year or all second half of the year on the Warriors. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to beat somebody in the first round. Everybody's going to claim that they, flipped the switch and the NBA regular season means nothing. Then they're going to suffer an injury and then they're going to bow out.
Oh, the injury is a new thing. That's a new wrinkle. I didn't hear that one before. So now you're adding someone's going to get hurt in the first round, and that's going to.
Yeah. I think they'll win the first round, and then the fact that they have to dial it up with all this extra energy for all these guys that have been sitting and all these older players, I think somebody of significance will wind up getting hurt, and they'll wind up ducking out in the second round against a good team. I'm not sure who. Because people will say, well, it was due to the injury. They look great in the first round. I think there'll be a lot of people after the first round that are like, the Warriors are back. And then they won't be back. MF says Ngakwe to the Niners didn't happen. Then Ned not coming on last night. A few disappointments on the Krueg show. All right. The Ngakwe thing was, I put a thumbnail to my producer, Ngakwe to the Niners, because there was a printed rumor of such, but I threw a question mark. He then put it on the live stream and got rid of the question mark. So then it looked like I was reporting it as news, and all these people are like, they didn't get Ngakwe. And I'm like,
It's the
dude,
opposite of Anchorman.
there was a question mark. Question mark. All right. So anyway, that one I'll own because it was bad communication on our end. Ned last night was going to come on, but he was watching tennis at Indian Wells, was driving back to his place in LA, and he's, lots of traffic. It was raining. It's a long drive. So he didn't make it in time. He said, I'll be there between 9 and 9:15. He probably didn't make it till later. And so he called in and was like, hey, I'm not going to make it. So I apologize. So MF, I'm sorry for the disappointments, but please vote for me to beat Grant Cohn in the next round of the.
Did you move on? Did you beat?
I beat Jennifer Lee Chan. I beat Jennifer Lee
Chan.
Chan.
What's going on here? I'm missing out on
Cohn beat Lombardi.
Cohn beat Lombardi.
Why did they match those guys up together early on? Those are two heavyweights.
You needed Cohn versus Lombardi. That's a big rivalry.
There was a guy who's a Niner content creator did like an NCAA bracket of all the 49er content creators.
Okay.
And basically, I was in the play-in. I was in the play-in tournament.
How do I see this?
Now are you in the Sweet 16 now?
I tweeted it.
Okay.
Are you in the Sweet 16?
No, because I won my play-in round. Then I beat Jennifer Lee Chan.
So you got to get one more to get into the 16.
I've got Grant. It's me against Grant.
Oh boy!
And Grant's got a lot of Grantites, so I'm gonna need basically everybody in the chat and then some to all vote for me.
Like five times.
I expect to go down. I do expect to go down here, just because Grant is somewhat of a force of nature.
Hey, that's why it's called March Madness, Larry. It's
true.
called March Madness for a reason. I mean,
you better call your relatives in Connecticut.
College basketball games going absolutely insane.
You better call your relatives in Connecticut. Start stuffing that ballot.
Seriously, it would be like the last election, just tons of votes. All right, here we go. It doesn't matter. You don't need ID to vote. Just vote. Okay. Here's one, though, that I got to throw your way. March Madness. Now, I was waiting for Frank to get in here because I know Frank played college basketball and he'll have an opinion on this. March Madness just had their highest first round ratings in the history of the tournament. What we saw in the first round in March Madness was the highest rated first round we've ever seen. The NBA, by comparison, is setting all-time lows in their TV ratings. Is there a reason? People love basketball. Why is it that the NBA is getting crushed in the ratings and March Madness in the first round in an era where college basketball has never been more nondescript, where there's almost nobody that anybody knows on even the major teams? Kansas, Carolina, go name. I mean, there's a guy named Dick on Kansas who's pretty good. Other than that, it's the most nondescript pool of teams and players of all time. I couldn't name anybody on any team, but somehow, some way, people are eating it up better than ever before, while the NBA's ratings are tanking.
Huh?
Do we have any theories?
So wait, just to confirm, the NBA's ratings, like across the board, are tanking this year. Is that's the report?
No, I don't know. I mean, I know the ratings are down for the league national broadcasts. I don't know about like NBC Sports Bay Area. I mean, to be honest, a lot of those companies are going belly up.
True. But you're saying that national NBA broadcast ratings are down.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, LeBron's been injured most of the year. Steph's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Those are your two primary ratings drivers. That's been proven. So I guess it starts there. The Warriors being crappy this year hasn't helped, I don't think. The Warriors drive ratings. This is fact.
Yep.
So them being, this mediocre version of themselves, I don't think is helping much. But beyond that, I don't know. It's crazy.
Frank, you got a theory as to why a league that has this much talent would be struggling in the ratings and the tournament, which is almost like anonymous teams playing other anonymous teams, and yet the first round did exceptionally well? Is the format that much of a difference maker?
I think the format definitely helped, but there are two other things. The portal. All right. So when I played
Transfer
it,
portal.
yeah, when I played at Fordham, plus these players got an extra year because of COVID. So you have a lot of older guys playing college basketball now, which means they're better players. Even if they're nondescript, they're still more experienced players. So what that does is that margin between the major schools and the mid-major has been squeezed. So everybody is an expert when it comes to who's going to win. I guarantee you the betting numbers are through the roof. So the combination of the little man, little girl, little they team can win, and the advent of betting, I think, has created this confluence to the point where it's really driving the ratings. Now, with regard to the NBA, I think that you have the have and the have-nots. You have people who love NBA basketball and people who are just But when the playoff comes around, and I think that you're seeing the Stephs, the Celtics of the world, I think their ratings will be fine. But the NC2A is the element of the unknown about who's going to win. I think it's really exciting to the general public.
Yeah, I think you may be missing another theory also why it may be taken off the NC2A. Why the ratings are so high. I did a preview on the my channel just before, and I think that's the reason nationally it's taking off.
Okay. My bad.
207 subs, and all 18 of them were watching that night. So I think that's why that it's booming. So NorCal Sports Network, there it is, baby. That's and the picks are not doing well.
That was shameless, Dan. That was
I'll say this. I think on the college basketball side, it's the format is so simple and so easy to understand. Every game that you're watching has the same thing on the line. You win, you move on. You lose, you go home. You don't need to know anything. You can just tune in and you can see the higher seeds, the lower seeds. You can kind of feel the drama. Also, I think there's a variety of different styles being played. I mean, I really enjoyed watching Princeton, beat Missouri. I enjoyed the way they played. They've got us some good talent. I mean, it wasn't Pete Carrill backdoor kind of stuff, though they did get backdoor a couple times, but it was just, they're just kind of playing together, and working the ball around for the best, highest percentage shot, and they're getting good shots, and they're playing crazy defense. I think also, I don't think it can be ignored that the NBA has become the players in the NBA today are far more politically active than Jordan and the players of the 80s or 90s ever were.
Jordan wasn't political.
He wasn't political at all. And I think his whole line was Republicans buy tennis shoes too.
Yep.
So, love them, hate them, whatever for their political stance. Some people would say it's refreshing that, I think everybody, if I said to you, hey, there's young people in this country who are more knowledgeable and are engaged in the political process, good or bad, we'd all say, good, that's great. But as soon as we're kind of like force-fed a political message, it immediately is a polarizing thing where if it doesn't jive with your political beliefs, suddenly you now build up resentment for these players. So the players are more engaged. The players are more verbal. They're more active politically. That, I think, is a good thing. They're more engaged in the whole process. I think our world would be way better if we were all a little bit more engaged, a little bit more knowledgeable. But because politics in and of itself is just very polarizing, I think that hurts the popularity of the NBA game. You know what I found is that people care this much about their basketball team. They care this much about their football team. They care this much about their political stances and opinions. And if you say something against that flies right in the face of what they believe, it's easy for them to go, you know what? We're in a world where nobody has to listen to anybody they don't agree with anymore. If I'm left, I can just turn to the left channel. If I'm right, I can just turn to the right channel. I don't have to listen.
I'm out of here.
But what are players saying though? I haven't really heard this season a lot of like activism. I agree with you if they were doing that, and in years past that we've seen it clearly. But I haven't seen it that much this year. Have you? I mean, are there any examples you could think of where players are outspoken about certain, issues that are controversial?
Dan just left. He's now back.
I will say this though, that to add to it, like you look at the top,
so part of it, guys, that somehow there's just people that may disagree with somebody's politics, and that I would never turn off an entertainment thing because, like, I'm not turning off a movie because some actor, went crazy political, and I totally disagree with their stance. I don't care. I'm still watching the movie.
Separate the art from
there are other people that really do kind of internalize these things and are like, hey, actor B said X, and I agree with Y, and I don't agree with actor B. So instead of just watching them and appreciating them for what they do, I'm turning them off.
Yeah.
I'm not feeding into their narrative. I will not give them a nickel of my money. I think that's going on. And I think that the NBA player has made themselves a much more active political voice, and that's good. But at the same time, everybody who doesn't agree with their political message is like, goodbye. I'm not watching you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happening.
Would you just read sports? So much of sports' popularity is based on the narratives, right? I mean, there's stories here that we're watching that captivate us, that enthrall us, and when there is no good narrative, the rating suffers as a result of that. And the Golden State Warriors brand of basketball in general has always been a fun narrative. People love watching Steph. People love watching this team run roughshod over everyone. You look at and LeBron. LeBron is the most popular player. LeBron's been hurt this year. He broke the record months ago. We haven't seen anything since. If you look at the standings right now, for example, like the best teams in the NBA come out of markets like Denver, Sacramento, Memphis, Milwaukee. I know the Celtics are a bigger market and whatnot, but the Cavaliers. I just think part of it too is just the product this year is not really. There's no storyline that's just making us like hooked on the product to see what's happening next, right? That might be part of it too. I don't know.
And I think what Larry was saying, for me, I love the game so much that I can overlook people's political views that don't line up with what I think. But if it's something I don't really care about, for example, like the WNBA, I'll use. If they're getting political and I'm casual, so I don't want to listen to this. I think you're losing the casual NBA fan to what Larry was saying.
And I don't think load manage. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I think Larry's thesis is probably likely pretty reasonable. But I think when that happens, you start to really compare the NBA to their peers, not necessarily to the ratings. So you look at it and you say, well, what else is on television right now? What are people talking about online? And I think when you have that type of metrics, it's still a very, very valuable and profitable entity. So I think you have popularity and then you have engagement. I think people who like the NBA are still very, very engaged in terms of what's happening with that particular sport. But the ratings are probably down because of the narrative that you presented and probably some other narratives because it's not quite as popular. So you got engagement and you have popularity, so I think that they wish they were more popular, but I think that they're not concerned about the level of engagement. I think it's still pretty high.
Baller?
Yeah, well, I'm putting a lot on the fact of this load management, okay? When fans see all these teams sitting players and it's almost like the teams feel like the regular season isn't all that important. So now fans are catching wind of it. So I'm willing to bet once playoffs roll around, you'll see the ratings jump back up to where they're typically at.
You got a good point there, because
previously.
That's a good point there, Baller, because these back-to-backs, they ought to just cut the season down to like 70 games and eliminate back-to-backs.
I know. But the owners would never do that, though, Dan. The owners, they're generating all this revenue
Players
off
wouldn't
all
do it
these
either.
games and hosting. They're not trying to cut back on the season.
Well, that's what Kerr's proposing. He wants to see him go to a shorter schedule, and that you got to eliminate.
Not what Lakeup's proposing, though. It ain't.
But here's the thing about that. I hear what Baller's saying. He's like, hey, they're never going to cut this down. But what if? I mean, they're always attacking. They're always realizing new revenue streams. The biggest of which is gambling. That's got to incredibly change the pie instead of being so freaking greedy and just trying to grow the pie. Instead of having, we're going to grow the pie, then now there's 5 pies, you know? Instead of doing that, why don't they take some of that gambling money and start kind of making some changes to the league that are in its best interest long term and cut the thing down a little bit? I'd like to see like less games and better quality games. And, you know, I think I'd like to see just a little bit less regular season. It feels like an exercise. The bottom line is, if I tell you, you know, sprint to the end of the street, you'll do it. But if I say sprint to the end of the street in the streets in Arizona, you're going to pace yourself. And it's the same thing. You're sprint up and down the floor. Okay, how many games are there? There's 120 when you factor in playoffs and regular season and preseason. All right, I'm going to take my time and I'm going to pace myself. And then look at guys like Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Leonard is kind of like the face of pacing himself, and he looks like he might be in position this year to get a ring. Brian Iglesias has come back on Dan. He says, Dan, you're telling me that you'll take your chances on Wiggins and GP2 being physically and mentally ready for the playoffs after being out for more than a month? Is Wiggins even in basketball shape? That's a question too. It's like, that's another part of my prediction is I'm predicting they'll come back. They'll have a great series, but then somebody's going to be hurt because that's what happens when you turn it on right after you turned it off, and then they'll lose.
I'll say, so I'm going to say yes. That I've thought that through. They're not going to put Peyton out there. Just throw him out there. He's going to have a few weeks to get in shape. Why are you laughing, Cy? Why are you always
in the comments? Because people are talking about the football tournament.
Oh, okay.
That's going on, the Niners.
I see you laughing. Okay.
I probably saw that too.
No, I say they're going to get Peyton. They're not going to throw Peyton out there just, you know, first thing, say, oh, okay, without having him played a few games at the end of the year, and he's going to be in shape. He's going to have scrimmage. It takes, generally you want a guy to get 12 to 15, at least 12 to 15 games minimum to really get in basketball shape and everything. But these guys are going to have to do it in a shorter period of time. So, but I do think that because of what the Warriors have been doing and have done, I see them being able to turn it up a notch. And yeah, I do believe they can turn it up a notch. I played in meaningless games and I played in big games, and it's really easy to get ready for a big game.
Wait, who, you Dan? You played? What do you mean? What does that mean?
Danny played in the NBA from 77.
Yeah, I was in the NBA with Rick Barry. Yeah, I was with Rick. Yeah. No, I mean, it's human nature to get, you get, you know, fired up. And I think the more that the national media, guys like Kendrick Perkins and everybody dishing on the Warriors, they love it. This is just fueling these guys internally.
Yeah,
Jim Molet says I could be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Frankie.
No, I'm saying Kendrick bashed the Warriors last year, and he has a right to his opinion, but he was dead wrong last year. And when the Warriors are playing at the top of their game in a series, they match up against anybody. They can win against anybody.
Where's the link?
Molet says I could be wrong, but it looks like you can vote more than once in this thing. Vote Krueg like 79 times or something. Link is in the chat. Okay, we'll have to put that out there. I'll have to see if I can find it in the chat. Nick says March Madness is an event that gets the casual or even the non-college basketball fan interested, like myself. I don't follow college basketball, but I love to fill out a bracket. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be honest. The bracket makes the whole thing.
It does.
Right? I mean, there's people walking around. My wife filled out a bracket. Right? She has no idea.
I'm in a pool with 227 people at $20 a pop.
Yeah.
That's
exciting.
Fun.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's gambling.
Everyone loves rooting for an underdog. How about the good old underdog story? And it feels like we're getting more upsets in recent years than ever before. I mean, 16 seeds are beating one, like what, 2 out of the last like 4 years or something like that.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Virginia,
we're getting
Purdue
upsets left and right. Because then nowadays everyone's got their cell phones. You pull up the college basketball app, and you see, okay, the 16's up on the 1. Well, guess where my TV's going the last 5 minutes of the game?
Let's see
Vicky
how
Pellich
many,
says March Madness is a far better format. One game, aka winner go home. All right, what do you guys think of Adam Silver's tournament? I mean, I remember when it was first proposed, and I'm sitting there next to Tolbert, he hated it. He hated it. He's like, "Oh, I hate it. I hate that idea." But I mean, this is a guy who played in the Final Four and also played in the NBA. I don't even know. I mean, to me, why you can only have a one and done tournament if you get something out of it, right? What I was thinking is, what do you think of this as a tournament idea? Now, I don't know if this would screw with the competitive balance too much, and it's definitely a new idea. But let's say you did the tournament right before the tournament started, right? Let's say you did it right around right about where they go with the All-Star weekend, which is a total dud. The All-Star weekend format is it's run its course. The All-Star game sucks. All-Star Saturday is always a joke. They could do something else. What do you think of a tournament involving the teams, and then whoever wins the tournament gets an automatic playoff berth or automatic high seed, and then they could literally just kind of coast? Hey, they won the tournament, or some team that, I don't know. I mean, what could they do to a one and done tournament to make it viable, interesting, and something that we would all go, "Hey, I kind of like that."
I think no lower than 6 or something like that. If you are a team that ascends to the top of the conference, then so be it. But if you win that tournament, then they can have something to the effect no lower than X, probably 6, because they're going to keep the play in, something like that.
Like the least you could be is the 6th seed.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What do you think, Si? You're locked on. Baller,
I agree with
what do you guys think?
It's a gimmicky idea to generate interest mid-season. I wouldn't mind it if they replaced the All-Star game. Just because the All-Star game is just a dud. I mean, that's no one cares about that thing anymore. It's a blatant exhibition that no one tries hard in. And, I don't know what the incentive is for the tournament. Like you said, like, what's the point of it? They're following the soccer model because I know soccer does a lot of these kinds of things. I'm not a fan. Just because what's the point? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some point.
Playing, but Larry, if everyone's playing during All-Star weekend, and it's not really, there's no break during the season. I get where you're going with it. I'm not really a fan of it. I really like All-Star weekend. Like Saturday night, me and my buddies, like we throw, $10 in the pot. We're each picking skill competition players. Whoever's guy wins the skill competition's coming out with some green at the end of it. The 3-point contest. Usually there's a more often than not, there's a warrior in there that you're pulling for. The dunk contest, it's a coin flip whether the dunk contest is entertaining or not.
Oh, come on, man. The dunk contest is got rigor mortis. I mean, that thing's been dead.
There are some years where it's atrocious, but I thought this year's wasn't too bad. And when you had Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, like those were spectacular dunk contests. Now, the All-Star game, I'm with you. The All-Star game's a joke, but you watch it for the theatrics. You watch it because where do you see that accumulation of NBA talent other than NBA All-Star weekend? Like, you never get all these superstars together at the same venue like that. So that's why you tune in. You tune in for the theatrics.
I'm convinced it's for the kids at this point because they're looking at the All-Star game through a totally different lens than we are as adults. And
Fair.
it's almost like the NBA is catering to their future fans because, I mean, why are they watching? Why are they there? Because their parents are paying for it. So I think it's kind of a marketing deal for their future fans because it's not a beautiful watch for anybody who really cares about basketball. But for an 8 or 9-year-old to see these guys doing what they're doing, I think it's still pretty entertaining for them to watch.
I got an idea for the playoffs, actually. And this may not even be that great of an idea. I'm not sure. I haven't thought it through deeply, but just came to me is you want to make the regular season worthwhile, have the first two teams, top two seeds in each conference get a bye, and then have 3 play 6, 4 play 8, and the top two seeds get 5 of the 7 home games in the semifinal round, and then it goes to a 4-3 format in the championship. This way you can play 2-2, and the last 3 games are at the higher seeds home court, and you're giving the incentive of those first 2 teams to really get to the finals because they're going to have 5 home games, and you don't have all that extra travel in between, games 5, 6, and 7. They go back and forth. Just do 2-2, and then the last 3 are at the home court, of the top seed. Now you got something to play for in the regular season. Those top 2 seeds are really like.
But our buys?
I don't like
buys are good, but also you can get stale.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you got 5 of 7 home games, you should be able to win that.
No owner is going to give those dates up. I would never do
You're
that.
giving one game up. Well,
No,
you're losing that series.
You said
Yeah,
5
you're
out of
losing
7.
that first round. Yeah.
I'm
but
not giving those dates up.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because
No.
I think.
I mean, yeah, it's cool, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Digital Drew says, Larry just scratching his head as Dan meanders around this idea. You're rubbing it for all of us, Larry.
That's where they make the
LOL.
money. That's where the owners make the money in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I know they make their money there, but shoot, I mean, then you got to do something to make the regular season. You got fans like coming to games to see Steph Curry, and he's not playing. And I remember a couple years ago there was a girl in Denver. They played last year, I think it was. They postponed one of the games because of the Nuggets didn't have enough. I don't know what it was, but Curry didn't play, and then they rescheduled it, and they happened to reschedule it on a back-to-back, so Curry didn't play again. So Raymond Ritter got the girl, flew her in from Denver to San Francisco so she could actually see Curry, got signed autograph, all the whole show they did. But this is happening constantly on the road. People buy tickets in advance and they spend hundreds of dollars. If you got a family, you're probably spending $1,000, and you go see these guys and they're all sitting. Well, what's that?
Here's the thing. They can sit all they want. What they can't do is they can't have both. You can't have the dynamic pricing and load management. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yep.
You're going to pay a premium to see this. And then the guys who you're paying the premium for sit out. And it's like, that's like the extra screwed, Oh, you're going to a steakhouse. You are going to get Kobe beef. And you're going to pay Kobe beef prices. Oh, wait a second. We're out of Kobe beef, or we're saving it for a better party. You're going to get flank steak, but at Kobe beef prices. No, come on, man. You're walking out of there. You're writing a horrendous review. You're contaminating that restaurant virally for like the next 5 years. They did you wrong, and you should not be doing I mean, there's very few people that are buying. If you say the average person in the world, there's very few people in the grand scheme of things who are buying tickets to NBA games. It's a very small percentage of people. The last thing you want to do is take those people that are paying the freight and screw them over. You don't want to screw them over. What I would say is this. Because I mean, you're going to have load management. The players are for it. The coaches are for it. Heck, most of the media are even for it. Have your load management, but how about this? If you load manage, players, then give something. All you got to do is on load management days, give a certificate out to everybody who buys a ticket to that game for free gear. These guys have rooms full of free gear. I mean, literally, the Warriors probably have a gym full of T-shirts and gear and all kinds of. Just pick your go here. Go on this. Go on the. This is. We're gonna hand out a little coupon. You're gonna have it. It's gonna have one code on it.
I
You're
want
gonna be able to
to
go onto the team store and order something, and we'll ship it to you, and it's free.
Foam finger.
Yeah. So then at least you go, yeah, you know what? We wanted to see Steph, but it is pretty cool that we're getting a free jersey, or it is pretty cool that we're getting free gear, right? Do something to make your fans feel better as they're walking out because they're disappointed. And I think the NBA in a lot of ways is kind of the way baseball was when I was a kid. Like I think that, there was like, oh man, I really want to go see whatever, Steve Garvey or, fill in the name of the player that you loved. Oh, Dave Winfield, Dave Parker. And when I was a 9-year-old kid, everybody wanted to see the We Are Family Pirates. Dave Parker. So yeah, if you go and Dave Parker is not there, then maybe you get a little something. And now I think basketball has replaced that. Baseball, and the people for the most part just buy tickets. They have no idea who the players are. They just buy tickets to be outside in the sunshine. Mm-hmm. But in basketball now, I really do believe people are like, I want to go see the Dave Parker, which is, Steph Curry. So it's like, if Steph's not there, they're going to be disappointed. But if you sweeten it for them somehow, maybe you have Steph sign a bunch of things. Who knows? Maybe,
Eddie,
I don't know.
Eddie K says to me, no buys, Dan. Buys are pathetic in any playoffs. Tell that to the Eagles and the Chiefs this year, and also to the 49ers 5 Super Bowl titles.
But that's football. In football, you need more rest.
In any playoffs,
baseball,
he said.
I'll say this: it is forget an advantage; it's a disadvantage. If you're baseball, you do not want to shut it down. So that would not work in baseball.
Yeah, baseball didn't do too well last year because baseball's a different animal altogether. But football or basketball, you're talking, if you get 8-10 days off, those guys relish it. They love the All-Star break when they get a week off.
Yeah,
they go crazy for it.
It's hard to look at the NBA and not look at the business component of it because they work hand in hand. Everything is done, I think, with a financial eye shot. And, so when I think about these innovations to the game, I always look at, the financial part because these franchises are inflated. People will pay X amount of dollars for them because they have been convinced they can make more money, but they're exorbitant. The fees are crazy.
I'll tell you, I think, though, the thing is with the basketball, if you're not going to do that type of thing with a buy, and I understand not doing it for financial reasons and all that, then you're really lessening the product. The Warriors could have continued. Had they not played 5 straight NBA finals, 100 games for 5 years in a row, had the season been shorter, I think they could have kept going with it because they were shot. Clay's injury, Durant's injury, but those guys were mentally done, and they took a mental year off, and then the second year, and that's why they came back last year, and they were rejuvenated. But you're playing 100 games. That thing's, to me, cut it down to 70 and make it a little bit more, manageable. I don't know. To me, it's just the money. I know the money's huge in sports, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. The seasons are going longer. I mean, the NFL is going to be at 20 games regular season probably in 5 years. I mean, what are they at? 18 now or 17?
17.
Okay,
17,
give it 10 years.
They're on the way to 18.
Give it 10.
They're going to go to 20.
They're going to 18 and then 20.
Yeah.
10 years, they'll be at 20. And it's like they say they care about safety, and they run these guys into the ground because they don't want to, instead of they only put 48 guys game day instead of, if you want to play that many games, fine. Increase the rosters to 60 and let 60 guys suit up,
No, spread out the punishment. The physical punishment. By the way, the Lakers are working out Tristan Thompson this week. Is that a guy that Golden State should have worked out? I mean,
not Tristan, but I took note of that and took umbrage because I don't like the fact that the Warriors are just standing pat. I actually respect the Lakers that they're trying people out, that they're exploring options, while the Warriors are just sitting there doing nothing. It's insane, man. So kudos to them for trying, right? I don't think Tristan Thompson's the answer, but DeMarcus Cousins is out there. I wouldn't mind him coming back. Stanley Johnson's out there. I wouldn't mind him. There's a few bodies out there the Warriors could pursue. I don't know.
And those guys would be eligible for the playoffs because they're not a buyout.
Correct. Nerlens Noel would be eligible, even in fact, for the Warriors.
Why did he get released? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so he's a free agent.
He is out there. Warriors could pick him up, but they prefer.
They would be. I'll say this right now.
He got signed by Brooklyn.
10-day. It was a 10-day deal, and the 10 days expired.
Ran out. They didn't pick it up again.
Really?
I'll say this:
okay. All right.
Warriors are foolish if they don't pick up a big man this year because two reasons. One,
they have no
they're getting killed. They're getting killed as it is. But if they lost Looney for the season or he went down, they have nothing.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Frank, one of the headlines that caught my eye, Pitino.
Yeah.
You see this?
I did.
6-year deal with St. John's. He's been the head coach at Iona since 2020. He's the only coach to lead 3 programs to the Final Four: Providence, Kentucky, Louisville. He won the national championship with Kentucky and with Louisville. What do you think? The Johnnies bringing Pitino to town.
I mean,
another Italian.
Listen, Rick is one of the greatest coaches in the history of college basketball.
Yep.
Maybe the greatest. And he's going to be a hit, particularly in New York, man. They love that guy. You know what I'm saying? So
I love him.
Yeah. Watch out for the NIL with St. John's.
I mean, I have an allegiance to Rick Pitino because he's from Long Island. He went to St. Dominic's. And,
Hey, coaches make a huge difference when it comes to not only the X's and O's, but the players they're able to obtain. Look at Colorado. They're going to be tough to beat this year in the Pac-12 with football, with Dion.
I got a hot take, though. I think Ed Cooley's signing to Georgetown is almost as big as Rick going to St. John's. Now, I'm going to say this also, and I'm not a gambling person, but I'm probably going to gamble on this because I believe it. I think St. Mary's is going to be the #1 team on the West Coast next year.
Wow.
I mean,
with that Aiden Mahaney kid?
Well, I mean, Marshallonis, Aiden Mahaney, they got a bunch of young guys. They're going to be, they can literally beat every Pac-12 team. UCLA is going to lose a lot of cats.
Wow.
St. Mary's is going to be on fire next year. And they're probably going to get another recruit or two, and maybe one of those top-notch guys from the portal might look at St. Mary's because they're going to be really good. Listen, UConn got a chance to win a national championship. That was not a mismatch.
UConn's going to win it, I think.
St. Mary's had kind of ample quickness with those guys. Next year, every game at St. Mary's is going to be a sellout. You're going to see them on CBS, some of these national big-time games. They're going to be really good next year.
Wait a second, Danny, you're saying UConn is going to win the national championship this year?
I think they're the team to beat in the finals, in the Sweet 16. I do.
Alabama's the team to beat. UConn might beat them.
That.
Yeah. Well, I think UConn's got that look that every team that wins a title gets when they start rolling through a tournament, and they're not, I don't know. I like that Sendago, and then their guards.
They're good. They're really good. They are. Yeah. They're really talented.
Just touching on,
I think Creighton looks pretty damn good to me.
They're really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that kid?
I just want to say, what I love about Rick Pitino is and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but I always know him for that aggressive style of defense, that full court press.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. Rick Pitino brings that wherever he goes, at least to my knowledge. So I'll be looking for that over at St. John's.
He has 3 primary defenses: full court press, a matchup zone, and a man-to-man defense. And he's going to be relentless. And, I like it because the Big East Conference is now going to be the top conference in all of college basketball again. And,
bringing it back. Bring it back, UConn and St. John's.
It's going to be great.
George, I love that old Big East when Ewing and Mullen and all those guys were playing. That was the conference. But how's that kid Dukas from St. Mary's? Was it back spasms he had, or what was that he just went down?
It was back spasms. Solid player, really good player.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the guy that I'm the team that I'm loving right now is I think Arkansas has taken UConn down in this round. Arkansas really plays defense, and that kid who got real emotional was it called Devo Davis?
He's good.
Yeah, he is. I mean, you can't shake him. I mean, you talk about an on the ball defender. That guy can just lock you up. Eric Musselman, I think, is a really underrated coach. It didn't work out with the Kings. It didn't work out with the Warriors, but maybe the college game is perfect for him.
Yeah.
He's a great coach. I mean, he's really, really grinds, and he's a damn good recruiter. So, I mean, when you can coach and you can recruit, it's like kind of like, watching Sean, what's the guy who was at Arizona who's back in his
Miller.
Sean Miller. Sean Miller's another guy. I mean, I think when I see him in Musselman, I think these guys are the perfect college basketball coaches. Why? Because they can coach, but they can also recruit.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to do both. And I don't know. I was very impressed by Arkansas, the way they took down Kansas. Kansas, if you watch that Kansas-Arkansas game, Kansas had Arkansas down early. And Kansas is incredibly talented. And Arkansas just came back and took that thing over. So I kind of like Arkansas. I didn't have them going very far, but I like them based on what I've seen.
Houston's tough too. I mean,
Houston's
going to be at home. Final Four, they're at home.
Sorry, you were saying something.
I was just going to add, Musselman he coached Moses Moody his 1 year before he went to the Warriors.
Yeah.
And I think he influenced that decision. I mean, given how much he praised Moody as a player. I don't know if you folks have ever been to Fayetteville. That's where University of Arkansas is. That's a beautiful town, man. Eric Musselman, it must be loving life. It's right next to the Ozarks. I made a lot of trips out there when I used to live in Texas. So kudos to Musselman.
Yeah, this is the first person I've heard celebrating Arkansas.
It's beautiful where he is. Fayetteville, that's beautiful country, dude. I was impressed. I really was.
They got a guy on their team. I think it's going to be sleeping this year's draft. Beniaco, 7-foot center.
Yeah.
Kind of understated, but defensive rebounds, block shots, can score a little bit. They got literally 3 or 4 pros in that team. So they were the most outrageous AFC that I've ever seen in the last 10 plus years because they underachieved this year. That's not an AFC. They were like a top 3, a top 4 seed, and actually more talented than Kansas. Kansas played more constructive basketball and kind of a blue blood. But Arkansas had more talent than Kansas had this year.
I'll tell you, there's 2 games that in this Sweet 16 that really intrigue me that should be fascinating to watch. One is the Houston-Miami. That's going to be a track meet, That's going to be fun to watch because very athletic, both teams. And then the Gonzaga-UCLA game. Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, who do we got in that game? I don't know. Somebody put that up in the chat. Who do you got? UCLA, Gonzaga. I took Gonzaga.
UCLA's favored.
Yeah, and I don't know. Are those 2 guys still out, or are they going to be ready next week or this week? They're 2 players that were hurt.
I don't know, but I'll say this. Thursday, I like all the underdogs. Michigan State's favorite. I'll take K-State. UConn's favorite. I'll take Arkansas. Actually, I'll take Tennessee over Florida Atlantic, but I'll take the Zags over UCLA, and the Bruins are favored. And I'll say, and even Friday, San Diego State is, I think, going to give Alabama a battle. But
shout out my boy Darion. My boy Darion was hitting some clutch threes.
Aztec for life, baby.
And that's for San Diego State. So that's who I'm going to be pulling for.
I actually like
taking down Alabama.
Aztecs for life.
I don't give them a lot of chances.
I like all the favorites except Gonzaga over UCLA.
I like the way Gonzaga is playing. I mean, you know what? I've always respected Few as a coach, but I've kind of become a Drew Timme fan because you know what? I mean, he's always had cover in the past. he would talk a lot of crap, and he was kind of arrogant, but he always had a couple of pros on his team that would cover for him. Now he is the cover. He is the best guy on that team, and when he's had to step up in the most opportune moments, he's done it. And I actually think, you know what, he's going to get a two-way deal, and if he continues to shoot a perimeter shot,
that's what I'm saying. Frank, he's really skilled.
I mean, he might be in the league for 3-5 years.
Defenses, you get a mismatch. Timmy down low on a guard. Timmy's going to work.
The only thing is Timmy's a ground-bound, beneath the rim kind of a player. And I love his footwork down low.
Yeah.
But he's a 63% foul shooter, which is way too low for him. He shoots 13% from beyond the arc.
That's all repetition, though. Yeah, that's all repetition. Though. Yeah, but he's going to be. But that's going to have to be his game.
But I mean, that's got to be his game in the NBA.
Yeah, it has to be.
What is he? He's got to be a stretch 4, right?
Yeah, and he could do it. I mean, he doesn't have horrible form, but he's an instinctive passer. I mean, you need guys like that in the league. I mean, Brian Scalabrine played how many years? 7, 8, 9 years. I mean, you got expansion coming. I mean, you need guys like that, man. Come on, you do.
I think it's interesting that this is the first Gonzaga team that's not been hailed, and I think that they'll wind up going a little further than people think.
Yeah, I like them too. I like them over.
I like the way they're playing right now.
Got them going to the Final Four. I got three of the Arizona had, going to the Final Four, but they obviously got bounced. But still have Houston and Gonzaga and Tennessee in there.
I have Houston winning it all, and I had Houston and Gonzaga in the finals. I took Arizona and put them over Bama at the last second. That was stupid. And then I'll tell you the big takeaway too. The big guy for Purdue. I mean, my God, you're 7-4, and everybody who swiped at the ball knocked it out of his hands. I mean, my God, you don't think there's going to be guys swiping at the ball? I mean, did nobody swipe at the ball in the entire Big Ten schedule? I mean, what's his name? Edey?
Is
it Zach Edey?
Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's 7'4", but I mean, you're 7'4". Don't bring the ball to your waist. I mean, it's amazing. To me, I thought Purdue was so disappointing. And then I watched them at the end of that game against FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson. There wasn't one. The only guy who wanted to shoot it was the blonde guy. They had the one guy who wanted to shoot the ball. Everybody else was like deathly afraid to shoot the ball. And then I'll say this too. I like the way basketball is played on different levels beyond the NBA, but the officiating in the tournament has just been so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So bad. I mean, there's just so many bad calls, and it's almost like they make the bad calls in favor of the team that's the lower seed to keep the games more interesting. I mean, there's just several bad calls.
Grilled Cheese, you're funny, man. Grilled Cheese is funny. He said that Cy and I were Uwe Block fans.
Where does it say that?
I mean, in the chat.
Grilled cheese.
He said Cy and I must have been Uwe Block fans.
Did he play Indiana?
Yeah, you're talking about Timmy, I guess.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
Uwe Blob, yeah.
Uwe Blob. Didn't Uwe Blob play for the Warriors, maybe?
I think he did for a little bit.
Did he? No,
I'd say Uwe Blob might have been a Warrior. I'd say
He
what a
put on
great
a
name,
couple of
Uwe
pro.
Blob.
He put on a couple of pro uniforms. I mean, he did that, So, hey, man, don't be surprised if Timmy gets an NBA check. Don't be surprised.
Yeah, no, he's going to play in the NBA, but he, in a way, he's almost got Kevin McHale like drop step moves.
He did play for the Warriors.
Hey, speaking of Kevin McHale, I saw your tweet, Larry, when you said something about Wiseman for Peyton may go down as one of the worst trades ever for the Warriors. The worst trade for the Warriors that I remember was trading.
Sprewell.
No, it was getting rid of Parrish. And it could have been.
Yeah, but you still got Joe Barry Carroll.
Yeah, but you could have had Parrish and McHale.
Yeah. But
what
Joe
about
Barry
trading?
Carroll? Come on, man. Joe Barry Carroll was
He was
was
okay. He wasn't a star like
Chris
Perry.
Webber
no,
trade
he-
was worse.
Joe Barry
The Chris Webber
Carroll
trade was-
was one of the
The
most
Weber trade.
skilled big guys maybe I've ever seen. I mean, the guy
He never
had
really put it together, though, Larry.
unbelievable skill.
He never
He
put
played
it
at
together.
Purdue. He went for-
yeah.
I think he averaged. I mean, go look up JB. Didn't JB average like 24 a game?
And he led the Warriors to the playoffs a lot of years. I wouldn't. No, I'm not gonna. No, you can't hate on Joe Barry.
Joe
I don't
Barry
hate on him, but you could have had Robert. You had Robert Parrish.
You're saying that's the worst trade ever. That's so.
Well, they could have had
mainly hating on him.
McHale. They could have had McHale and kept Parrish.
Well,
Yeah, but it's
still,
the Warriors. They've made worse trades.
They made worse trades. Yeah.
How about Weber
trade
for Gugliotta?
Yeah, that was the worst because
That was
Gugliotta ended
the
up being
worst.
that kid from Cincinnati. I forgot what his name was. Danny Fortson. I think that was like the final end result of what the Warriors got for Chris Webber.
Here's the worst trade in Warrior history. I can remember it like it was yesterday. February 1999, the Warriors traded Sprewell in his prime to the Knicks for John Starks, Chris Mills, and Terry Cummings.
Yeah, right when
Cummings
Starks
was
prime.
ancient. Mills had a horrendously bad contract. Starks had injuries. Sprewell's in the prime of his career. It set the franchise back forever.
Yeah, I want to make that the worst, Larry, just because, I mean...
That's not the worst?
Well, because the Warriors had no leverage, man. Like, everyone knew they had to get rid of Sprewell after he choked their coach.
Right,
so it wasn't
but
like,
I mean...
So they had to get rid of him. And so,
how about this one? Mitch Richmond for Billy Owens?
That was bad. I still say the Chris Webber one was like the worst. Chris Webber was like in his rookie year, he was playing significant minutes for a Warriors team that was the 6th seed in the playoffs. And actually, look, they didn't win a game against the Suns that year, but you know, they got to the playoffs, man. And Sprewell was, and the very next year, you trade him for nothing, for Tom Gugliotta, who turns to Doniel Marshall, who turns to Danny Fortson. That was just a disaster, in my humble opinion.
I'm still
That's
not
bad.
a huge fan of Joe Barry Carroll. The guy played 10
We can
years,
tell.
5
Obviously.
teams, averaged 17.7 points in his career, made only one All-Star appearance, 17 points average back in the center era when, you know, everybody went to the low post. That's nothing. I mean,
I hear you, Dan. Well, can I bring up a couple?
Nobody's
Because
defending the
as
trade.
a
It's just,
younger
you're saying
Warriors
it's the worst
fan,
ever.
one that
That's
sticks
no,
out to
it was
me-
a bad trade.
and not the worst ever, but I didn't like trading Jason Richardson for Brandon Wright.
Someone just wrote that
That
in the
was
chat.
atrocious. And the other one, well, I want to give him credit. PMG read my mind. This was originally the one. Antoine Jameson was a good player, but you could have had Vince Carter,
Yes.
who was just an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah,
superstar.
they butchered
Like,
that.
Vince
They
Carter,
butchered
I mean, of my childhood, it's like, you know, the
Yeah, they
Warriors,
butchered
they
that.
didn't have the roster of players that you really love to watch. So it's like
But
I
I'm glad-
gravitated towards Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter.
You're
just
right,
as
you're
the
right.
super, and their cousins, by the way. The Raptors screwed that one up. Imagine if they would have kept both T-Mac and Vince Carter. But that's neither here nor there.
But I'm glad, Dan, I guess you brought it up because of the tweet. But, dude, the Wiseman trade, I mean, we should discuss that. Because if this Warriors season
He just
does
had an
end up
incredible
being
game.
well, if this Warrior season ends up going the way we all think it's going to go, which is them probably being eliminated from the playoffs in the first or second round, that trade is a bust. It's a massive
They
bust.
should have never traded him just because of this year. If they were going to trade him, they should have got a lot more for him.
Or
They
they shouldn't have traded
basically
shouldn't-
just dumped a salary. And to me, James Wiseman was too talented to let go this early. Forget this season. Look at the next 2, 3, 4 years down the road. That's where I think they were short-sighted.
Well, especially when you're looking at what Wiseman is doing in Detroit. I mean, all he's doing since he's been there is shooting it efficiently. I reached out to I have a Pistons insider and actually reached out to him and was like, what is your assessment? He says his defense still has ways to go. And that's been his issue with the Warriors. But the fact that he's putting up,
21.
He's a kid and he's putting up numbers. I still look back to that Grizzlies game on Christmas Day where he only played 8 minutes, but he grabbed 5 rebounds and all he did was play good defense. He matched up on Jaren Jackson and was fine. I don't understand how Kerr just blew that, man. You could not just give that kid 5 to 10 minutes and slowly develop him into a potential star down the road.
I think he was
It's a
I don't want to
mistake.
use the word intimidated. It's not the right word. I think he was a little bit nervous once he got in there to perform with all the superstars, with Curry
Then let
and
him
Green.
get comfortable. But here's the
He
bottom
never
line.
was going to. He
Stop
never was going to get
listening.
comfortable on this team, though.
Stop
He just-
listening to the players.
He wasn't going to get.
Stop
He wasn't
listening
going to
to
get
the
comfortable.
players.
How do you know that, Dan? You make a lot of assumptions, Dan. I just want to point that out. Like,
So do
don't
you,
know that
Sai.
for sure.
So do you.
You don't know that for
but
sure.
I
What assumption am I making?
I see it. I see it.
What is you see? Okay, fine. So we're supposed to believe everything you say. What assumptions am I making right now? Well, all I'm saying is you let it. Why not try him out? Why not develop?
I said they
number
shouldn't have
10?
traded him, but I don't think he was going to make it this year on this team.
Based on what? Your opinion? Okay, fine. Well,
No,
he might
based
have
on
still,
every
you
time
don't
he
know
went
that
out
for
there, he
sure.
didn't do that well.
You didn't know that for sure, though, Dan, but you speak like that's a fact, dude. You don't know that for sure is what I'm trying to say. If he was coached correctly, if he was actually given a run like he's given right now with the Pistons, maybe he would have.
How did
this
he
year.
perform when he was with the Warriors out there?
But
When
it's
it
his
wasn't
rookie
small
year,
sample size.
his rookie year in 21 minutes of play, he averaged 11
on a
points and
crappy
6 rebounds.
team? There was no pressure. He's got no pressure
what?
right now in Detroit.
I mean, you don't draft a young player unless you have a plan to develop him. The fact is, they drafted him; they
Agreed.
didn't have a plan to develop him. And then my biggest issue is that the Warriors. I really believe this, and Sai, I'll say this: I have no sources on this. I'm speaking out of my ass, but I believe this. I believe that the Warriors listened to Steph Curry and the veteran players on this. And guess what? You shouldn't listen to your players. Respect your players, listen to them, but don't do what they say. The same guys who wanted to trade Wiseman, in my opinion, and my guess is that Steph and Draymond said, trade him. But don't listen to those guys. Those guys also said, go get Avery Bradley
Over GP2.
over Gary Payton the
yeah,
second.
but it's a players' league.
I don't care. I don't care. You
They'll
don't have to
leave.
listen to the players. LeBron almost single-handedly ruined the Lakers because of his horrendous GMing.
I
He's
agree,
not a
Larry.
GM. Steph's a great shooter, great player. He ain't a GM. He wanted Avery Bradley. If they had gone with Avery Bradley over GP2, that would have been a horrendous decision. They probably wanted Wiseman dealt. So what? I wouldn't have listened to them. I would have just said, hey, look, we want him to be good now. He's not good now. That's on us. We're going to have to do well. We're not getting rid of him. We're not going to sell him for $1 on the, for $1. I'm not going to sell him at a huge loss for a 30-year-old two guard with injury problems.
Who you could have had a year ago.
Who you could have had
just
for
to
nothing.
Add insult to injury. Like you could have had GP2 last year. You
They
let him go
should
for
have.
nothing. And
Brian's like, they won't regret trading Wise. They didn't need his scoring. They didn't need his scoring today, but
Right.
they have no front court to speak of.
Now,
So then he goes, they let him go because he's a liability on defense, can't set proper screens, couldn't stay on the court.
That's
he only
true.
played 60 games. Coach him.
That's true, though. He wasn't able to
Yeah, but
get
you
their
have
offense.
what's
the most difficult
what's
offense in
Delos
the
there
league.
for?
do you mean
What are
that's
all these
true,
developmental
man?
coaches
Well,
there for?
Let me
You've
say
hired
this.
all these developmental coaches to have them develop these players at 5:00. Fire their asses.
They should have just left him in the G League all year. Is what they should have done.
or
here's
play
what's
him.
funny. Here's what's
Or
funny.
play him.
The Warriors defense has gotten a lot better since they traded Wiseman, right?
But he wasn't playing.
No, it has not gotten better.
No, I know.
Yeah, you think it's
Yeah, he's being facetious. Yeah.
No, it has not gotten better. Here's the issue, Dan, that I have with the whole Wiseman deal. Now, I respected how the Warriors front office, I would go to my grave. This was not a good move. And I knew it because he's not a bad guy. Just like you see Kuminga coming around, it's because he's becoming more receptive to coaching. He's getting an opportunity, and he wants to be successful. Wiseman's ego we had people thinking in the Bay Area that the guy was a complete stiff, and that was wrong. He's a young guy. By the time we finished talking in the media, oh, no, the guy can't play. Are you kidding me?
And Frank, if I can add to
What?
that,
Yeah.
I interviewed Clifford Ray, Warriors big legend, who also became a coaching
Great
bigs. He was on the
developmental
staff of the
coach.
He was on the staff of the 2008 Celtics, Coach Garnett,
Yes.
Coach Perkins. And I spoke to him about Wiseman at length, and he loved Wiseman. I've also spoken to other former players who all like sung praises about what Wiseman could become. But Steve Kerr doesn't even play him.
I'm
Like,
a big man coach. I'm a big man coach.
Man.
I know how to coach big guys. And I mean, do you know what I would do to coach James Wiseman? You know, so Larry, I think you're onto something with regards to the collective.
Hey, listen to Steph. Steph wanted to trade him.
That's that.
Maybe, yeah, possibly, yeah.
Do you think so?
Like
I think so.
That's really
Sorry,
good.
why don't you ask Larry? Why don't you ask Larry? Say like you did to me. How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that?
Right, Larry, well, you're right.
But I've already stated. I already stated that I don't know that.
Yeah. So
I don't know what Steph. I suspect that the same way Steph and Clay and Draymond wanted Avery Bradley, they wanted Wiseman moved.
You may be
So
right.
the hell
with that.
what? Don't listen to those guys.
You
They're
may be
just
right on that,
players.
Larry. But I'll say this: just because Wiseman doesn't, if he does well somewhere else, doesn't mean he was right for this team at this moment. And I think I think they should have kept him. I said they should have kept him because
Joey
I think
Bart's not right for the Giants at this moment.
Right.
They're not going to give him away tomorrow.
But I'm
Trey
saying
Lance
this
is not right for the Niners at this moment. They're not trading him.
Right. I said this in the beginning. I said I don't think they should have traded him because I think he's valuable to them down the road. But they should have got a lot more for him if they were going to trade him, because a big with that much talent and that much mobility and athleticism is hard to come by in this league. They gave him away for basically, few second round picks or whatever they got.
It wasn't the
Five.
trade. It wasn't the trade. It wasn't trading Wiseman. It was what they traded him for.
Yeah,
I would have been happy if they had traded him for Sadiq Bey and a pick. Why? Because you're trading a young player for another young player. Instead, you traded him for a bunch of picks, and then you traded those picks for a 30-year-old injured player who's a halfway player. He's a defensive player.
And for the people saying in the chat, we love the trade at the time. It needs to be prefaced that we loved it because Kerr was never playing Wiseman, right? So he was just an intangible sitting there doing nothing. And we thought we were getting back a Gary Payton II that we had last year, who was a defensive stopper, who was making legit contributions. I know the Warriors, they did not. What could they do, right? That the Trailblazers medical staff just totally screwed them and screwed a lot of people apparently. But nonetheless, I mean, the complaint here is the whole big picture, is the fact that just 2 years ago and a year ago, you're using your lottery picks on these three players. Why? Like, why did you bother doing any of this if all you were going to do is ruin them with the way you're coaching and with their confidence killing moves you're doing, and then you trade them away for nothing for a player you already had? You're right, Larry. You were saying, Larry, when this trade first happened, that accountability is important, and I'm totally with you, man. Somebody needs to be held accountable for screwing the pooch on this, because if you don't win a championship this year, you just gave up your number 2 pick for nothing. For Gary Payton II, who a year from now is going to be gone and who's already apparently regressing as an individual.
I gotta blame the guy at the top of the masthead. I gotta blame Joe freaking Lakeup, because Joe Lake, the only overwhelming positive on this trade is the massive amounts of money that Joe Lakeup saves. Everything else, nothing.
Lakeup wanted to keep him.
I don't believe that. Why do you
I don't believe that either. I don't believe that either. I think he's the one who signed off on it.
Why do you say that, Dan? Because I don't believe that for a second.
Because he said he was going to be watching him, how he does, and it really bothered him to trade him, but he's going to trust the brain staff of the basketball brain staff. Trusting Myers.
He's the owner. The owner's never going to take the fall. That's not his job.
No, but he said he's trusting.
You believe that? You believe that?
I do, because I think he wanted to go young.
He's saving millions of dollars by trading Wiseman.
Yeah, but he is. He's saving the dollars, but he wanted to go young for the future. He wanted all those guys for when Curry and Clay and Green are gone.
No, he wanted his coaches to develop Wiseman into an asset, and that didn't happen.
Well,
they wasted they hired a coach.
They did. But you know what? When I watch Wiseman play, he would run out to the set a screen, and he never set a good screen.
Then coach him.
Not never.
But you don't think they were coaching him?
Awful screens. I'm with Dan there. Okay.
You don't think they were trying to coach him? Some guys just don't get it.
Hey, Larry,
He
you don't
gets
think
it
they were
fine in Detroit
coaching
now.
I'm not
Yeah,
making
He's not,
comparisons.
right
he's
now.
not playing in anything meaningful games in Detroit.
fine
He's playing street ball in Detroit. He's
did fine
playing
his rookie
street
year.
ball in Detroit.
So
He's
you're
not
saying,
running
Dan,
this
you're saying
complicated
you can
offense.
read Wiseman's mind and you know that he can't handle pressure situations. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying he did not handle the situation when he was on
Never
the court.
played though. He never played. How can you judge him if he
Never got a
never?
chance.
Because every time he went out there, he looked like he was lost.
To you,
Let me hear-
I didn't
let me
see
hear-
that.
let me hear
And
Baller.
that's why
Baller, go
that's
ahead.
why
I
keep
did.
saying You
I
make
mean,
all these assumptions and you have all these
Wiseman
damn
used to
opinions,
get
man.
attacked
If I spoke
in
about the
pick and roll.
Giants, if
When
I spoke about
Wiseman
the
was on the
Giants as much
court,
as you spoke about the
it was
Warriors,
pick
you
and
did
roll.
wrong.
After
Wait, one
pick and
person at a
roll,
time. 1% at a time.
Teams were absolutely attacking James Wiseman the limited minutes he was on the court. He was just a bad defender. But here's
He
what's
wasn't
funny.
ready to play.
I'm
We all would agree.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with your premise. The veteran players wanted Wiseman out. But what the funny thing is, Larry, they wanted Wiseman when they had that pick. I remember Draymond saying,
Yes.
"Well, we need size. Oh, I like how Wiseman's looking." Like they wanted Wiseman. So that's what's funny there.
Well,
But I want to talk
one
about-
other thing on that, Baller. I want to hear your rest of your point. But the other overarching issue is that outside of Kevon Looney, no big men can get into a rhythm on this team. So maybe it isn't about Wiseman. Maybe it's about, I don't know, the team. You know, maybe it's like Kerr can't work a big man into his system.
Sure,
I don't know, because he doesn't
Bogut was
seem
good.
like he, outside of
5 years
Looney,
ago.
they don't have a big man at all. And I didn't see any real development from Wiseman. And GPK says Larry kept calling Wiseman a marshmallow. Absolutely, I was calling him a marshmallow. But it doesn't mean I would hand him away for a 30-year-old two guard. I mean,
Yeah.
How did that make sense? I mean, go ahead, Baller.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. You know, we're all looking at this under the magnifying glass of what is James Wiseman. But what I want to say is the coaching aspect. Sometimes I'm not comparing these two players, but you don't think Patrick O'Brien was getting coaching? Just some players just don't get it. Like when I watch James Wiseman, the most frustrating thing to me is that when the shot goes up, is he doesn't attack the glass.
Exactly.
Like, how
Right.
often can you tell a guy, hey, you need to rebound? You need to rebound. At some point, it's on the player to go out there and perform and put it into fruition. Let me hear Frank. Frank, talk to me.
Well, let me say this. Teaching basketball is no different than teaching a subject in a school. There are various rates of comprehension and mastery. You do not get frustrated because a player does not learn a particular skill in X amount of time. As a coach, you reassess how you are coaching that player to get him or her or they to the end goal. You demonstrate how you box out. I mean, when I watch Wiseman play, he doesn't know how to box out. And I don't put that on him. He's a 19-year-old kid. So I think instincts and self-motivation, you're absolutely right. But I saw some fundamental things that did not line up with Wiseman. Just like and now I'm going to give the Warriors coaches some credit. I noticed 3 or 4 games ago, and I mentioned it on this podcast, I said, Moody looks different now. His body alignment is correct. He's anticipating where he's supposed to be. He's getting better. And Kuminga is getting better, primarily because of coaching. They did not give Wiseman that same level of coaching. It's not by magic that he's playing well in Detroit. And Dan, he's not playing championship caliber championship caliber basketball, but he's playing against NBA players. This guy is emerging.
Yeah, if you give a big guy like that, though, 25, 30 minutes, he's going to get rebounds and just standing there. But I just
Dan, give him more respect to that, Dan.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying – I like Wiseman. I think he's a player for the future. I just didn't see the fit for this current year, and for whatever reason –
There's no reason to get rid of him. I mean –
that's why I said they should have stuck
right
him
now,
in the
okay,
G League.
Kenny, Casey Schmidt's 24. There's guys all throughout the National League West who are getting opportunities who are younger than him. Miguel Vargas, younger. The guy for Arizona, the center fielder who just came out of the minor leagues, younger. The Zach Veen guy in Colorado
will be up
21,
in
3 years
May.
younger. But just because Casey Schmidt may not be ready to help the Giants right now doesn't mean they should trade him for a utility player. And that's ultimately what the Warriors did. They traded James Wiseman for a utility player.
I'll
And
say
Because they
this.
got tired of working with him. And that to me is something that
We're
I
not
said
at
it the
practice
time,
every
This
day.
has this trade has a chance to look horrendous
Horrible. It
down the
does.
road.
It does.
Yeah.
And look, we're
And just
not
to add
even a
to this-
month into the trade. It's already
Larry,
looks bad.
I got to add to this. Wiseman, his rookie year, when he played 21 minutes a game and grabbed 6 rebounds a game, no one was talking about his hands. No one was talking about mental issues. They just let him play, and he was fine. No one had issues with his rebounding. The only issue they had with him was efficiency, because routinely when he was out there, his plus minus sucked, right? And those are the same people who cherry pick plus minus and go to it depending on whether or not it suits their argument. Since that time, since his injury, the coaching staff screwed up. They killed his confidence. He's in his head half the time. All of a sudden now his hands suck. He's regressed. That's entirely on coaching. And then he goes to Detroit now, and they're just like,
How is his hands on the coaching?
He never had bad hands.
Because he's thinking all the time, because his confidence got killed.
That's what I was trying to
staff.
say when you said, how do you know he looks scared? He looked scared when he went out there. He wasn't playing with any confidence.
Not originally, though, Dan. He was fine his rookie year. Like
But not this year. Not this year. He was not playing with confidence. And I'm telling you, we're not at practice. But I can tell you this, coaches who watch every day and coach every day, they get to a certain point where if they don't see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, they're going to move on because
that's not true. Let me say this. Let me say this, Dan. The difference is a coach will give up on a player when said player stops playing hard. That's the only reason. That's your job to develop these guys. If Wiseman is in practice and he's not playing hard and he's not being a great teammate, he's not being a professional, you are exactly right. But I never saw Wiseman.
But we don't know that, though. We don't know that. Maybe in their mind.
That's fair. I don't know that. But this is what I do know. Kerr covered for him every time he had an opportunity to do that. He didn't kind of like slide the comment. Kerr was like, no, he's a great teammate. The guy's working hard. He's doing so what are we what are we supposed to think if the head coach is saying this guy is working hard, he's a great teammate? I assume it's true. That's what
I'll tell you this. If they thought that he was going to be what they wanted him to be, there's no way they would have traded him.
Dan,
it's not the trade. It's what they got.
What's that, Si?
I said you love the sound of your own voice because you express a shitload of opinions, and oftentimes they're wrong, but you just keep fucking yapping, man.
Well, how is it wrong? What were you saying earlier about the Giants?
You make assumptions. Like you sit here and say, oh, coaches automatically do this every time. How do you know that, man?
My brother's been a coach for 35 years. He's one of the top coaches in history of the state of California.
Your brother?
Yeah.
Okay, so like you were there for at a community college, you're going to translate what went on there with the NBA?
My brother could have coached. My brother coached in NC2A at St. Mary's. He had the opportunity to coach at Cal.
Did not you? Your brother did.
Yeah,
okay?
and I talked to him.
Doesn't mean every coach does what your brother did, man.
No, it doesn't mean that. But coaches have a mentality.
Okay, but assumptions are fallacies, dude. If you're in the business of logic, that is not a logical statement. You just say coaches do this all the time. No, every coach is different, man. You don't know what's going on there. Like Steve Kerr screwed this up. That is
how can you say Steve Kerr screwed this up? The guy. How do you get on Steve Kerr? The guy's got 4 NBA championships as a coach, 5 as a player. He's Olympic champion. You've been ripping Steve Kerr for all year, and I don't even know how you can even justify ripping Steve Kerr constantly when you don't know what's going on inside.
Well, first of all, I do know a lot because I talk to insiders every day. Every freaking day, I talk to people in that building who tell me what's going on. Number 2, I didn't rip Kerr until this year. This year, he's done a horrible job. This team is underperforming. They're one of the worst road records in NBA history, the worst as an NBA champion. You just lost your number 2 pick for nothing for a player you had last year. How can you defend Kerr this year, man? I don't give coaches a lot of credit when they have the best players on the planet on the roster and they're sitting back letting those players win titles for you. Bill Belichick, people call him the greatest coach ever. I still would question him because Tom Brady proved that he was the winner mostly. The coaches do get way too much credit, man. It's the players on that floor who are making the difference. Kerr's responsibility was develop Wiseman.
So if it's the player's responsibility, why are you ripping Kerr?
Because he was responsible for a young player.
You just said it's not the coach's responsibility. It was Brady that did it, not Belichick. So it's all the players. Then Kerr's not necessary. What you just said.
No, what I said is I overvalue. I give credit to the players on the court, especially in basketball, where there's only 5 of them. All right. And again, Brady won a Super Bowl without Belichick. Brady proved he didn't need that coach to win a Super Bowl. Same applies with Steve Kerr. If Steve Kerr was not coaching this team, you give these teams, that roster, to another coach, they're probably going to still win a title, man. This year, Kerr needs to be questioned. Are you sitting here saying coaches are infallible? Like coaches?
I never said that. I'm not saying he's infallible, but I think you criticize him too.
Why? Why do you have that opinion now? Mr. Opinion, why do you have that opinion?
Mr. Opinion, Mr. Opinion, you're the guy who has more opinions than anybody I know.
I have a freaking show. That's my job to do that. What's yours, man?
Let's just say this. Mario Titanic says, who has Steve Kerr developed at the NBA level? I guess you could say Jordan Poole, right? He's developed a little bit, but the Warriors, this is what happens. There's a reason that the worst teams pick first and the best teams pick last. And it works. And then when you upset that arrangement, now you've got the best teams drafting, in the highest spots, getting the highest rated players. The Warriors took a highly rated player who didn't play a whole lot based on a lot of factors, but they have not been able to develop him. And they hired developmental staff people. They had a guy named Delos, whatever, who worked with Jokic. When Wiseman went to Santa Cruz, the coach didn't even go with him.
Exactly.
That was weird.
This developmental coach who's there to develop James Wiseman doesn't go to Santa Cruz. And then they buried him. I mean, I don't know. This
whole season is nonsensical. This whole season is nonsensical.
They just didn't handle it well. But to me, it's like, okay, I bought this really expensive item. I haven't been able to fully utilize it yet. Okay. But then you compound your problem by divesting yourself of this item at a dramatic loss. That's where, yeah. Was I a fan of James Wiseman? No. Am I a fan of James Wiseman? I think James Wiseman's kind of soft. I don't think he's a natural rebounder. I don't think he's an animal who wants to block every shot. I think there's some softness to his game. But I wouldn't have given him away for a 30-year-old 2-guard at the trade deadline. And I think it's all stems from Joe. I think Joe finally just said, hey, look, I want, if you guys can't develop him, I want my money back. So they moved him and they saved Joe $30 million. But don't for a second think that Joe didn't okay that. Joe pushed for that. Joe wanted to keep that $30 million. He chose that $30 million over patience in Wiseman. And so now he's got his $30 million, but the Pistons now have to show patience in Wiseman. And whatever they're doing, they're getting more out of James. I do agree that you can't look at these stats in a vacuum because every situation is different. Just because he's going double-double in Detroit doesn't mean he was going double-double here now. But I do think that he's going double-double in Detroit means that was in there and that they got rid of that and they never got an opportunity to go get that out of him. And I agree. There was a very little chance that they were going to get it out of him this year. But that, to me, is not why you would divest yourself of that player. And I think they made the big mistake was they were forced into drafting a player, or at least they chose to draft a player that had very little experience, kind of like the Niners with Trey Lance. And that's probably the learning lesson. Don't go for players with short resumes going forward, but don't right now. The worst thing the Niners could do is be like, Trey Lance hasn't developed. Send him to the Titans for a 5th round pick. What? No. Don't do that. Develop him. Well, he's not going to develop this year. Then develop him next year. But don't hand him to the Titans for a 5th round pick unless you want to look like a jackass.
Well, and I got to add, Larry,
that's what's happening now.
But the Christmas Day
That's my
game the
read.
Warriors played against the Grizzlies, that was a marquee statement game, man. That was a game that the moment the Warriors won the World Championship, the Grizzlies were talking smack about that Christmas Day game. That was a big game. And Wiseman had been out for weeks before that game. People had their eyes on him because he played 8 minutes in that game, and he passed the eye test.
He impacted the game. Yeah, I remember that. He did all the small things.
Defense. He grabbed 5 rebounds in 8 minutes, and everyone after that was like, "Wow, James Wiseman can actually contribute this year." We never saw him again after that. Just vanished and then traded. This season has just not made any sense at all. I don't think Steve Kerr, despite his 4 rings, deserves defense. I don't think he deserves leeway for a repeat world championship team to be underperforming like this, man.
And in defense of Cy, Danny, Cy is on our show and he's voicing this. But anybody who listens to 95.7 The Game, where they talk tons of Warriors, there is a sizable, I don't know how large, but there is a faction of Warrior fans that absolutely are chapter and verse in lockstep with Cy, that believe that Steve Kerr is a great coach, Hall of Famer, and has fucked this season up to the nth degree. So Cy's not the only one. It's not like Cy's in the corner yelling, "Kerr's the emperor has no clothes," and everybody else is like, "Kerr's the best." There's a lot of people this year who are, I don't know if it's a majority or anything, but you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are dissatisfied with Kerr.
To be fair, I'm not calling for his head.
Well, here's the narrative. Here's the false narrative. Wiseman is a stiff. He has no talent, and he can't play.
Right.
I know what a stiff looks like. Okay, I know. Listen. I mean, I was a learned player. I understand the mechanics of developing to a pretty good player and playing against a stiff. This guy is not a stiff. You see him run up and down the court. The Warriors.
He's very athletic.
That's in and of itself. That is a worthy skill in the NBA. And let me tell you something about the Warrior offense. There's nothing wrong with changing your offense to match the personnel of your players. In the second quarter, I mean, they did it in the playoffs last year. They ran high pick and roll against the Boston Celtics because they were jumping all of those passes that the Warriors utilized in their structured Princeton triangle-oriented offense. So there's nothing wrong with that. They could have used the guy in a way that he could have built his confidence and he could have been more productive. He's not a finished product. But what I didn't like, because we've seen it with athletes throughout history, these are young, emotional kids. They could have buried that guy. And all of a sudden you had people watching saying, "Oh, his hands are terrible." His hands are not terrible. He just needed to become comfortable. And once he becomes more and more comfortable, he's going to be a decent player. And All-Star, I have no idea. But the Detroit coach wrapped his arms around him. The whole community are wrapping their arms around him, and he's feeling valued. That's the only difference. I think Kerr is awesome. He's a great general, strategist, all of that. But he gets stubborn, and he gets fixated on what he thinks is right. And, I mean, he doesn't change. The Moses Moody that we're seeing right now, we could have saw this Moses Moody 25 games ago.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right. That drives me crazy.
He's never got a chance.
Yeah.
I'll go back to this.
Kerr, but
go ahead, Baller.
Nobody's above criticism. So I'm with you guys. As great as Kerr is, nobody's above criticism. If you see something you disagree with, that's what I love about this platform. We can share it. But fellas, I learn so much from you every time we talk. I'm going to jump out of here. I want to say thank you guys for spitting all this knowledge to me. Sometimes I sit back and I just soak it all in like a sponge, being the younger one here today. But fellas, I appreciate you guys. I want to let the chat know, Larry, fellas, what I've been working on. I just put out all 22 coaches film of Javon Hargrave, the big 49ers acquisition. Every snap from week 1 and week 2, I watched it all, cut up his highlights, his impact plays. You can find that on my channel, Bay Area Baller 18. That's one word. And I wanted to say, Krueg, thanks for bringing me on.
Dude, hold on. Do you follow me on Twitter, Barry Baller?
Yeah, Yeah, Frank.
Okay, because I don't see you tweeting a whole lot because I would promote the hell out of your channel. It's unique. I mean, I got a friend who loves that all 22 stuff, man. So
Yeah.
tweet more
I
so I
got
can
it.
see your stuff, man. So
Okay.
I can
Yeah.
promote you.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you a message so you know what my avatar looks like and whatnot. But yeah, I got
Okay.
the NFL Game Pass.
All right.
I'm
Thank
watching the all 22. I just put out all the Javon Hargrave tape. And I said, once that initial video, week 1 and week 2 highlight, once it gets to 50 likes, I'm doing week 3 and week 4. But I got to know that the audience is loving it. So go check it out, like the video.
Baller, put some stuff out, attach me to it, and I'll retweet it for you, and we'll help you grow, man.
Dude, I'll retweet yourself. You just tag
Bay Area
me there.
Baller 18. Bay
There
Area
you go.
Baller 18.
Awesome.
All right, Baller.
Hey,
Peace,
appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good night. Talk soon.
You
Nice
too,
jacket,
Eric.
dude.
Baller in the house.
No, I'll say this about the thing with Wiseman. As I preface, I do think he's super talented. I just don't think it was going to work here at Golden State because of the timeline with Curry, Clay, the rest of, Poole, Looney, all those guys I think Curry's got another 3-4 years. And you may be right, Larry, with your assertion. He may have been frustrated because every time Wiseman was on the court with Curry just didn't click. I mean, because Curry loves that high screen out there, and Wiseman would run out there, and then you remember the one play he got a little irritated. I don't know if it was Curry who was in the game, but they didn't throw him the ball, and he kind of got it looked like he got a little upset or something. These guys are seasoned vets. They're probably like, hey, you gotta follow what we're doing. So maybe you're right. Maybe they did say, hey, but they haven't done anything to show without him that they are worthy of, moving on and taking off to this level they want to get to without him. They've been very, obviously they're a 500 team. They've been a 500 team for most of the year. So I do think a lot of it has to do with the defense and missing GP2 from last season. They have not had good defense on the perimeter this year. It's pretty much, destroyed the whole, why they're so bad defensively, giving up. What are they giving up? Like 115, 118 on the road?
118, yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. But at home, they're like 10 points better. So I don't understand it, but to me, it's an intensity. It's a focus, a lack of focus. And I don't know if you could put that on the coach or not, because the players got to be focused when they're out there.
Let me ask you one question, Dan.
Yeah.
Why do you think certain NBA organizations develop players and others don't?
Like Miami, those teams like that?
I mean, San Antonio, Miami, they're not the only ones. I mean, we can go back years when Zubac was kind of looked at like kind of a, like a low-key stiff, all right? He was on the Lakers. He was getting a couple of minutes. He was kind of clumsy and all this other stuff. And then he wasn't. And then he was a player. You know why? Because they gave him the time that he needed and the room to grow as a player. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, I think they did that. I think that was, they did it when Curry came up and Clay came up and Green came up. They developed those guys into NBA.
No. With Wiseman, though. Did they do it with Wiseman? Do you think they did?
I think the only reason I could say what it looks like now is Wiseman's kind of a unique case. He didn't play but 2 or 3 games in college. Then he comes out and he got the COVID year. It's short. Then he gets hurt, and then he misses training camp, and then he misses camp the next year, summer league. It was just like a snowball effect of development time that he kept missing. And so then they get into this championship run last year, and he's hurt again. And
what
so
about this year,
I think it's just a matter of they were trying to develop him, and he wasn't getting to where they wanted him to be, and they didn't trust him.
Frank,
They didn't
You
touch
should have
it.
given him a longer leash in the
I,
first.
I
half
think
of the
they
year.
should have given him longer leash. I think they should have played him in the G League this year. And just if they weren't going to play him and sit him on the bench, he needs to play. He hasn't played.
He could have got injured in the G League.
and he did play in the G League, and he did.
Yeah,
play.
he should have
played
played the
20
rest-
games. He played
I mean,
15, 20 games there. And
He's not
look,
a G
Frank,
League player.
and Frank,
Yeah, he's not, but he's not a bench player at 20, whatever he is, 2021. If you're not going to play him, you got to put him in the G League so he gets his reps. That's what I would have done if I was running the organization. If you didn't have the confidence to play him and you're just sitting him, letting him rot, and his confidence is getting destroyed, let him play, and then maybe he really gets it, and then he comes in next year, and maybe he's a year advanced, getting better, or he's more valuable to be traded. But sitting him on the bench, they ruined his trade value, just sitting him there,
and then traded him.
So I don't think they should have traded him because I think they didn't get the value what he was worth. But I think they did botch it.
It's just look. I mean, there's development, and then there's handling an asset. They devalued their asset and then divested themselves of their asset when it was devalued. That's
what
never
I'm saying,
smart.
I didn't think it was a smart
Nobody
way to
made
do
them
it.
do that. Nobody forced their hand. They may win the title this year. They may not. But they were going to do what they were going to do with him sitting at the end of the bench or not. You know what I mean? So
And I
just
also think they had their eyes
like-
on next year. I think they know they're losing DiVincenzo, and they took Peyton not just because this year, but they're looking at he signed for 2 more years after this, and they don't have any perimeter defensive guy to. Who are you going to bring in at the salary level they have that slot? DiVincenzo's making what, $4 or $5 million this year, something like that.
I'm gonna bounce here in a second, but before I go, look, Frank, you brought up a very good point, which is that when it comes to development and when it comes like coaching is teaching, you and I've coached, you've coached, I'm still a teacher now as a professor, and one of the most effective methodologies of teaching is, and the best universities have this as an adage: learn as you do. The best way to learn is to get out there and actually do it, not let them rot on a bench. Not let them just sit there and watch and do nothing. And the Warriors horribly mismanaged this asset that we're talking about, the number 2 pick, James Wiseman, and they blew it. They got nothing.
So what would you have done? What would you have done differently with him?
I would have done what they did Christmas Day. I would have kept doing that. Play him 10 to 15 minutes a night. He did fine that night. They could have done that the whole year. I would right now, but I still would play Moody more than 8 minutes like they did tonight. They're ruining these assets. Their Kerr is horribly mismanaging. I do think what Larry says is valid, where Kerr is trying to appease his veterans, but you can appease everyone. It's not like an either or. It's not a black and white situation where, oh no, either I make my veterans happy and I ruin the youth, or I develop the youth and the veterans are gone. You can, if you have just a little ingenuity, I think you can come up with ways to make everyone happy in the process. You can give Moody the time. You're seeing with Kuminga that if you actually play them, bad things don't happen. They are not a detriment to your team if you give them actual minutes. But for some reason, Kerr is, like Frank said, I 100% agree with you, Frank. He's got an ego. He's very stubborn, and he's set in his ways. And in this case, like, he came to an opinion and a conclusion about James Wiseman, which is that he doesn't think that this guy's going to contribute, even though he showed us on Christmas Day that he can, and they botched it, man. And that's that. The
other thing that I think has to be stated here is that while, there's all kinds of opinions, I know Bob Myers, I know Steve Kerr. I've talked to both of them. They were very, very tight. They may still be very tight, but what Bob Myers said, saying, well, we could get somebody at the buyout market, but, the thing is, will our coaching staff even play them?
Exactly.
Kind of reveals a disconnect between the scouts in the front office and the coaching staff. And there's no way around that. And I tried to press Kerr on that. They don't want to go down that road for obvious reasons, but Bob Myers would not. Bob Myers is totally reasonable. He would never have said, well, why would we get a big man if our coaching staff wasn't going to play them? Isn't that, to me, and maybe I'm a child and don't see things very simply, but that was an obvious reference to, we drafted James Wiseman and our coaching staff won't play James Wiseman.
It was blatantly obvious, Larry. And he also mentioned the fact that they don't want to spend money on a player who isn't going to play either. I mean,
well, look at it this way. They brought in this special coach, right? The guy that coached Jokic to coach up Wiseman,
Delos.
right? Yeah. What happened? I mean,
that's a great question.
Great question.
What would those guys say they do?
So, I mean, these guys with him every day in practice, is there a possibility that this guy had some input and said, I don't see him getting.
I throw up my hand. I wash my hands of it.
I mean,
possible.
Well, I mean, he was specifically brought in to coach Wiseman up.
They also have a guy from UConn there, too, that's played like 7-8 years in the league. I get Colton or something. I can't think of his name. But they got other big man coaches on that staff. So, I mean, I just think collectively, again, I see things – I saw things from Wiseman that are fundamental coaching skills that I didn't see him improving in. I mean, I didn't see him. I've never seen him.
This is why I say it's on the player.
No, it's not on the player because they don't know.
Well, if the coaches were brought in to coach him up,
right,
and he wasn't getting better at what they wanted him to do. I mean, Wiseman.
We don't know what they wanted him to do. We don't know. We don't.
But they traded him. That we do know that they didn't
make
like
assumptions. And I'm gonna say this also. I have friends who coach at very high levels. I got my college roommate's a coach at Kansas. All right, he's on the staff at Kansas. I know people who coach in the NBA. Just because you get that glorious once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it doesn't mean that they're a better coach than your brother. They're probably not. Your brother's a phenomenal coach. But nobody plucked him out and said, listen, I want you to be my assistant for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, as great as Gary St. Jean is, right? He's a wonderful guy, great coach, GM. His biggest asset was probably being, Don Nelson's guy. That's his guy.
Frank, just to add to that, St. Jean comes on my show sometimes, and one of the shows that he came on, I literally asked him, like, how did you get to where you were?
Yeah.
And he said it was entirely luck. He was a high school coach.
Yeah, I mean,
and
that's how
he
it
met
is.
Don Nelson, and Don Nelson liked him and invited him one day to come to some clinic or something like that. And then
Nelly was using the gym, I believe, that he coached at, and as like a practice gym, and then basically worked him in. Yeah.
I'll say this, and I'm not there. I'm just using logic. If a guy is showing this incredible potential in practice, and he's got a great attitude, and the guy's got a willingness to learn, and you could see it in there, and maybe it's not right now, maybe it's 2 months from now, it's next year. We could see it. It's going to happen. He's going to be what we want him to be in this organization. They're not going to trade him.
Money's involved, Dan. Money's involved, though.
$30 million.
Millions.
Joe's money.
Nobody want to give away $30 million.
I know money's involved, but if he's that valuable to them, what they're seeing, to me, my guess is they didn't see what they wanted to see.
Well, and that premise was flawed, Dan, because the Warriors let go of Gary Payne II just a year earlier. So your premise is that, well,
yeah, but they didn't draft Gary Payton Jr. and he was,
but he was on their team, and he was on their team, and they opted to let him go through waivers instead of giving him the 15th roster spot.
Him.
Right.
They waived him.
Right.
So your premise is that you think that they absolutely know if a player is going to be good or not. No, they don't.
No, they don't know, but they in their judgment, their best judgment, I don't think you let a guy in his third year?
Yes.
There's no way you let the number 2 guy go.
You don't guess about $37 million.
Yeah, but if they think they're going to get that investment's going to pay off shortly,
they got a salary cap. He's playing
Right.
And
Reach
there's
out.
that, but there's also, but Frank, there's also the fact that the Warriors are trying to win a championship this year. They have a blatant issue in perimeter defense. Wiseman was not fixing that. He wasn't playing at all. So they saw an opportunity to get Gary Payton II. The only asset they had to trade was Wiseman. That was it. So that's what they did. I don't agree with it. They could have kept Wiseman and maybe done a trade like the Lakers did, where all they did was give up second-round picks to get Rui Hachimura. They could have done a trade like that, but they chose not to. And again, if the Warriors made themselves available to the media the way a professional sports organization, I think, should, we would probably have a lot more answers. But these guys are shielding themselves. There's a reporter pool that never asks hard questions of Kerr, and they only get access to them before and after the games. Kerr only makes himself available for long-form questions for 95.7 The Game. That's it. And even there, you hear him get all like appalled and he's all frazzled half the time because he doesn't get hard questions otherwise. Bob Myers only appears on also 95.7 The Game with hosts with Steinmetz, who I think lobs him softballs a lot. I don't know. Maybe he asks some good questions. I don't know. But the point is, they're not making themselves available that much. So we don't even know half these things because they never talk to us. It's just the whole thing sucks, man. The whole thing just sucks.
Guys, let's wrap it. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes in.
This is fun.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, but it's always funner when there's a little bit more.
Let me just roll
fireworks
through,
is
let me
good.
roll through the
Hungry.
starred ones real quick. 808 Niner says he's not a fit for this team. LOL. They're one game over 500. He's a scapegoat. A lot of these guys on Dr. Busyball watching and losing their guys and scrambling to close out and getting blown by. We've got a bunch of them that I starred here. So I'm going to roll down the starred. This is what I starred in the show.
We got a lot.
All right, here we go. CW. Like to see the passion, honestly.
Right on.
Hendricks. Nobody is more locked on than Cy. Come on, Dan. You know that. Hendricks.
Well, my point was this real quick, Larry. If I interjected with San Francisco Giants opinions at the same clip that you did, Dan, with the Warriors, I guarantee you'd be pissed off. I like to just not interject myself for every single topic all the time. It gets a little annoying sometimes, man. I'm sorry if I cause drama.
No, I mean I love it. I mean, bring it on.
I know you do.
Because
I
can handle it. I'll go toe to toe with you because
I know. Well, you think you're going toe to toe, but that's my problem. You love to interject repeatedly. That's just I don't believe in that philosophy. But whatever.
Hendricks
right?
says this is
I don't think I think it's an opinion. You know,
G-Mark
that's what sports is.
I think Cy's being a bully again. Jimmy Robinson says the Krueg Show ratings are going up. Rob C says slam the like button and subscribe, everybody. Somebody said that I was ripping the fans. Fish and Chips has got my back. I've only ever heard Larry give fans credit. Stephen J says KMBR would have had a 15-minute break in the middle of this.
They would. They would.
Now that's funny.
They would.
Remix channel, Big Boy Talk. Wonderland, this is getting wild. Hendricks again. Hit the bong, Cy, relax.
I'm sober. I am completely sober. Right
Mark
now.
Graves, this reminds me of the Razor and Rick Barry.
Oh,
Guess who the producer was for all those, by the way, right? This
Kevin
right
F
here
says,
was
clip
Tom
this
Ford's
segment, please. I will rewatch. Wonderland, Krueg should beat Cone easily after this episode, laughing my ass off. Senior softball games love the fire. This is just another sign that the dynasty is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what? That might be right on the money. Kevin
Hey,
F says
remember my last dance comment about 4 months ago?
Right.
You guys said,
Kevin F, Last Dance Dubs, senior softball game. Tomorrow's Japan USA World Baseball Classic game could be the most watched baseball game.
Oh, that's
in
going to be an
history.
awesome game.
Is that
I think-
true?
Yeah, I thought
It's
that was
the
a
most
joke.
watched
Is that
baseball
real?
game in history.
I
DJ
don't know,
Venus,
it's gonna be fun.
Larry with the F-bomb. I love it. Jay Boogie says, great show, great discussion. Jay Boogie 510, I love the passion. Gilbert Arbalo, the show needs some estrogen. Bring on Miss Kylan Mills.
Can I interject here real quick? So Locked On Warriors, so right now we have about like 6,600 subscribers, something like that. If we get to 8,000, Kylan will be on the show 3 days a week with me. If we get to 10,000, 4 days, 12,000, she's a full-time 5-day-a-week co-host with me. So please come there. I think that show needs the estrogen as well. She keeps me in check a lot. I love her. So go subscribe to Locked On Warriors just for that reason, please. And I know she'll come on your show too, Larry, if she's on with me.
There you go. She's fantastic. Bouncer says, I love Size passion and fire. Mario says the Warriors core pressured the management to trade Wiseman. Curry and company don't really care about the Warriors' future. It's about now. Bouncer said Cy is on fire.
Thank you.
Yeah, he also said somewhere in there I saw Cy, Dad, why end it now?
Yeah, well, let me see if I got any more else in here.
Something like
Dude,
that.
I'm hungry.
Oh, wait. Here we go. Bouncer says, can we switch to NorCal Sports Network for more Cy and Dan? Wait a second. Bouncer says Cy versus Dan versus Cy is fire and should be on ESPN's First Take.
Oh,
ESPN's
that would be
getting ready to
good.
Fire everybody,
That
by
would.
the way.
That would
that'd
be
awesome.
good. I'll take.
That's how
Cy.
Skip and Stephen A started. Just doing like on the weekends, just kind of doing like a head-to-head segment.
talking shit.
Yeah, that's how they started.
Frank, I got to get you on at some point, man.
6K past Larry. There you go. Troc Talks FKMBR. That always gets them. That always gets me. G.
You're welcome,
Martinez says,
Cy, to
more
have,
interjection, Dan. More interjection.
Yeah, Cy, you're welcome to have Giants opinions. You have Giants
I
opinions.
don't want to. That's where you and I differ in philosophy, man. I like educated opinions. I am not educated.
Are you saying I don't have? I'm not. My opinions aren't educated.
I don't know.
Oh,
When
here
it comes
we
to the
go.
Warriors,
Here
I don't
we
know.
go.
Come on. I don't know. I think I don't know all the answers to the Giants or the
Grilled
Warriors.
Cheese says, Larry, let's see Carl
But-
Foster again soon.
Oh.
But-
Yeah,
yeah,
where's
Carl's
Carl?
great.
So we got to get Carl back on here. He would have ended it.
But I'll say this. I don't think I've been too far off on the Warriors this year as far as what I said. Things that's happened, I've pretty much called it. You know, I said that Lamb would be their 15th guy, and that I said he'll be up last week. They'll make him on the 15th. I didn't have any inside information.
Here we go.
Just logic.
Bouncer says, Dan Versailles, Hell in a Cell. I'd pay for the pay-per-view and more subs for NorCal and Warriors Locked On YouTube channel subs.
Oh man,
Cy bullying Dan, senior
Ozzy
citizen
Rules
Dan.
has
That
a
ain't
bone
right.
to pick- No, Ozzy Rules has something against me, so that's yeah. Anyways,
All right. Guys, I'm going to let everybody out because I'm going to
I'm
play
out.
the spots.
Yeah,
Brad,
come on.
good to see you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out. Take care.
all right.
There you
Hey, good to see you guys.
Danny,
still on?
good to see you. Have a great
All right.
night.
Fun
Talk
stuff.
to you soon. Cy,
Larry,
you got a
that
final
was
word?
beautiful. I'm hungry, man. I think I'm hangry. That's part of my problem right now. I need food. I love you, man.
All right. Love you too,
How was
brother.
Townsend before we go, man? I mean, he's our boy, dude. Was that good? Was that?
It was good. It was very
Okay.
good. Townie was phenomenal. He was on last night. We'll do a baseball. We're thinking about maybe doing a Sunday show, Sunday baseball wrap-up show.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And just for people out there who aren't familiar, you two are like the OGs. You two have just phenomenal chemistry. My dream when I was 23 years old was to be your two's producer, and we're gonna take it to the whole world. But yeah, man, you two are great. Love
And
it.
instead, you're locked on. All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too, buddy.
There you go. The great Cy Satsis. All right, folks. What'd you think? What'd you guys think of the Krueg show tonight? Woo-wee! That thing just got hot. It got hot. All right. Let's get a quick word from our sponsors, and then I'll roll through the chat one more time, and then we will call it a night. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle, our title sponsor of the Krueg show. Check them out in Corte Madera, open 7 days a week. And they're in Emeryville, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. In Marin, you can get there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and they start serving right then. They close at 8 o'clock. Don't show up at 7 o'clock and think that you're going to get every barbecue that you want, because they run out. They run out. They absolutely run out. But check out Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Damon and Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle, for being phenomenal sponsors of the Krueg show. And we want to thank them for their sponsorship. And let you see a little video quickly from Pig and a Pickle. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Telmetrics, TELMETRIX.co. If you hurt your elbow, your shoulder, you want to rehabilitate it, you don't want to go to ER, you don't want to go to urgent care, check out this resource. I think guys are really going to like it. Telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And there's a great way for you to go on there and get some information that will help you rehabilitate your injuries. And special thanks to the sponsor of our show, and that's New York Style Italian Sausage. What a great product. I love New York Style Italian sausage, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. Man, you can't go wrong with New York Style Italian sausage. Often imitated, never equaled. They're a proud sponsor of today's show. Make sure you check them out at NewYorkStyleSausage.com. We are going to have a New York Style Sausage contest where you're going to be able to win prizes later on this month. Really excited to tell you guys about that starting on Monday. And thanks to New York Style Sausage, and now a little mention for New York Style Sausage from their owner, Mike D'Ambrosio.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show, coming down the home stretch. Hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Sometimes we're going to get into arguments. That's why it's a live stream. It's live. It's like live radio. And we got passionate people. Danny's going to give you his opinions. Red's going to give you his opinions. Baller's going to give you his opinions. Sai's got strong opinions. And we're not always going to agree. So sometimes you agree. Sometimes you disagree. Sometimes you argue. It's kind of like a family. Truck Talk says, I make Larry and the guests laugh every time. You always do. You always do. We got this one from CW. End it before it gets ugly. LOL. No, come on. It wasn't going to get ugly. Joe Schmo, elder abuse. Aussie rules, Sai bullying senior citizen Dan. I don't know about that. Dan can hold his own. Dan is no shrinking violet. He can hold his own. J Boogie 510. If I were a radio show host, I would roll into work tomorrow and say, James Wiseman, worst trade ever. Open up the phone lines. Done it. It works. It absolutely works. CW. Baller was just leaning back, smiling during the entire argument. Baller's chill like that. That's the way he rolls. G Martinez. How many bar fights has Sai gotten into? Maybe a few. Maybe a few. Truck Talks. Dude, Dude, don't to a pig in a pickle shitty commercial break. Oh, come on. Come on, Trock Talks. It's at the very end of the show. Are you really burned by it? Fish and Chips says, breathe, Larry. Gilbert Arbalo. This was definitely a rewatch. Giants talk, Larry. CW. Want to talk a little Giants for a minute? How'd they do today? Let's check how the Giants did in the Cactus. In the Cactus League. Let's check out how the Giants did on this day in the Cactus League, because I did not follow today's game. They didn't play. They were off today. So there you go. They did not play in the Cactus League today. The Giants are back at it tomorrow at Camelback Ranch in Glendale. Camelback Ranch right there in Phoenix, Arizona against the Dodgers. Giants are 9-12. Dodgers are 12-7. 105 tomorrow. Giants, Dodgers. I just did a whole video on the 10 reasons Casey Schmidt needs to break north with the club. So check that out. Tell me what you guys think and leave a comment. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. Casey Schmidt needs to go north with the Giants. Immortal-ish 30 says classic episode. DJ Venus, Larry, you dumb man. Appreciate that. Bouncer says impeccable smoke show. C-Dub says classic. Mark Graves wondering what happened to Chardal, who made a donation, came on, we put him on, and poof, he was gone. Cool Breeze says loved it. Glad you love it. Eddie says Cy was being an ass. Dan never said anything totally moronic for Cy to have his panties in a bunch. People are picking sides now. It's great. Bouncer. Everyone hit the thumbs up, y'all. Great show. A lot of clapping, some fire there at the end. I had fun. Bouncer says, appreciate you guys. Joe Schmo says, around the horn. Yeah, come on. Fish and Chips. Chardal made some great points. Oh, man. Joe Schmo loved Townie yesterday. I'll tell Townie that. Joe Schmo. Krug show tonight. Sounds nice. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Joe Schmo says, pig in a pickle. Go try pig in a pickle. Trock Talk says, Larry loves the sausage. I do. Love the sausage. Big fan of the Italian mild, especially in spaghetti sauce. Gilbert Arbalo quoting Pasquale. Do me a favor and do yourself a favor and go get the New York style sausage. Fish and Chips says, hit the like button, everybody. That's right. Hit like and subscribe. Cool Breeze. Great show. Very entertaining. Best in months. Best in months? Damn, I've been working doing some pretty damn good shows. Tonight was the best ever in months. Mark Graves. Sausage contest a la July 4th contest. Yes. CW. Over or under 85 wins for the Giants? Under. Cool Breeze then comes back with under 85. CW says agreed. We all, yeah. Cool Breeze says 78 to 83. I'm saying about 77, 75, 77, something like that. Cool Breeze said love tonight. New Dawn, Red October. Worst trade ever, Larry. Hands down. Fish and Chips. Cy only wants a small amount of people to have the voice on his subject. Cy just really believes that if you're not super credible, he doesn't want to hear from you. I kind of understand what he's saying. After a while, we all give opinions. Some people rub other people wrong. Just the way it is. Bouncer says the Giants have no offense and defense. What am I looking forward to? Exactly. Grilled Cheese. Larry, are you guys planning to do a daily post-game Giant shows this season? Yes, we are. And I will be at the ballpark doing interviews on my phone and bringing those interviews like I did during Niner season to all of you. So you're going to want to have it locked on the Krueg show over television, over radio, because you're going to get me interviewing the players and then being honest about the game. How many people can honestly do that in this market? Can go into the clubhouse, face up the players, interview them, and then go on after the game and speak honestly and passionately about the team. I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to do it. I'm sure there's going to be players that get pissed off. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to try to say, well, Krug's ripping you guys. Yeah, Krug is ripping you guys. But I'm also right here. So, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to talk to the guys. I'm going to give them a chance to rip me back. I'm going to give them a chance to say fuck off to my face, whatever. I'm not going to start anything, but I'm also not going to pull any punches after the game. It is what it is, and it will be said. And then I'm not looking to fight with anybody either. I'd actually like to just go in there and get to know some of the players and let you get to know some of them. And then at the end of the day, I think you're getting everything. You're getting to know some of those players. You're getting real critical analysis, and, you're getting passion. To me, if you go face to face with the players, you're critical and you're fair, there is nobody out there that's providing better coverage. And you're going to get it right here all season long on the Krueg Show, or at least until I get tired of baseball and decide I'm going to cover training camp instead. Now, but I'm going to stick with it all year. I'm going to stick with it all year, and you're going to get great content. You're going to know more about the players than you ever did before. You're going to hear some great exchanges between me and the players. And then you're going to hear a number. Ned Coletti's going to join us a bunch this year. I'd like to pull Townsend a bunch, Danny, Rye, others, some beat writers from time to time, players. So keep it locked right here on the Krueg Show during baseball season. Seriously, Larry, we got this from Fish and Chips. Seriously, Larry, tactic to beat Cone in the playoffs. I don't know, man. Grant's a force of nature, and he's got a huge YouTube channel. Yeah, I was on the radio for 12 years doing pre and post, but Grant's got 65,000 subs on his YouTube channel. We're at 15, going on 16. So I fully expect him to beat me. But if you said, who's a better Niner content creator, it's me. And if Grant were standing right here, I'd tell him to his face, Grant, you're good, but you ain't me. Mark Graves says, Cy getting upset when Danny interrupts when he's talking. There you go. This Bouncer, is Damon Bruce and Ray Ratto coming to your channel? Possibly. Damon's in LA, but we'll see. We could have things planned, could have something to announce at some point. We'll have to see how it goes. Bouncer says, Cool Breeze, you must be Robert Rothberg's friend, who's a very passionate and loyal Giants fan. Senior softball game. Cy loved the Wiseman trade at the time. All right. I hear you. The great JM. Got to take a dump. Great show, Larry. Thanks for that. Gilbert says Ratto's hibernating. Dave says it's all about betting online. Look at the ads for sports books. March Madness was made for betting. Yeah, we were talking about why March Madness is taking off. Cozy, you still going to be filling in at 95.7? Yes, I am. Somebody said today on social media, I don't think Larry's there anymore. Larry is still there. Larry was in Arizona for a week, and then nobody took any time off this week. But I believe I will be sitting in for dibs with the great Mark Willard in Afternoon Drive first week in April. So look for me on 95.7 The Game. Fish and Chips, 25 subs by the All-Star break should be a breeze. I'm trying to get to 20 by the draft. I'm intent on doing it. Bouncer, I love Larry's honest, courageous interviewing of these players. Yeah, well, it's not courageous. There's nothing courageous about it. But I this is the first time since 2019 that they've opened up the clubhouse and we can go in there and face up the players. And I like it. I like talking to the players. I had a great conversation with Sam Long the other day. I had a great conversation with JD Davis the other day. The players a lot of the baseball players are really good dudes. And, Yeah, I'm not going in there to antagonize anybody. I'm going to the best interviews that I think I've done. I'll go up to a player, just be like, "Hey man, where are you from? What are you into? Tell me a little bit about yourself." Next thing I know, we're talking about all kinds of things and it's good stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I know I do. Kevin F says a Giants A's weekly show with you and Townie would be epic. That could be coming. We've discussed that on a Sunday night show. Trock Talks, Larry, you are a living legend. Love the content and love the cursing. Fuck off. No, I'm just joking. Thank you. Bouncer, Larry, can you ask Gabe Kapler hard questions? Go at him. I don't know about hard questions. I can ask him direct questions. I will. I think if I can bring you some of Gabe Kapler talking with the media before the game, that right there is going to be tremendously entertaining. Gilbert says, I need to see Kapler blow a gasket. Mark Graves says, Giants interviews like the ones you did with the 49ers? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I don't know about you guys. I thought some of the stuff I did with the Niners this year was some of the best stuff I've ever done in any medium. I really enjoyed it. And if others didn't, I don't know what to say, but I really did. Bouncer, Grant Cohn as a whole SF and Santa Clara of people subs. Wow. Yeah. Grant's a force of nature, man. Bouncer, got to take a dumb. I think he probably meant dump. Fish and chips. Larry, you're truly appreciated. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Bouncer, damn Larry and Giant Talk. Fire. Get ready. Yeah, get ready. Get ready. Bouncer, Larry and Mark, I mean. There you go. Me and Mark Willard. Fish and chips. The more we get of Brebbia, the better. Yeah, Danny and Rye were saying he's quite the character. Clarence Beeks. Jump him, Larry. Jump him. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I'll try. Mark Graves. I love getting to know the players. I do too. I really do. I mean, some of the interviews we did in the Niner locker room this year were just phenomenal, man. I walked away from them just going, I like these guys and I like bringing that content to the audience. So we're going to be doing that a lot this year. Looking forward to it. Mike Vaz, Larry, keep up the great work. You're truly awesome. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you. Fish and chips. Your interview with Ray McLeod was the best, hands down. Dude, Ray is solid. That's the other thing too. It's like Ray fumbled in the playoff game. I asked him about it the next week. He didn't run from it. He didn't bail and be like, I don't want to talk to you. Don't throw negative stuff in my face. He addressed the question like a man. He just answered it. It's like, this is how I felt. And this is, how I reacted. And this is what was going through my mind. And dude, anytime you can go up to a player in any sport and kind of ask them a couple questions and get a little glimpse into their mindset, to me, that makes it all the more interesting to me. I find it a lot more interesting when I can find out kind of like the mindset of success, the mindset of failure, how you deal with it, how you move on from it. To me, that was good stuff. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you. Bouncer says, Larry, you still think the A's still moving? Yes, I do. A's are going to Vegas. I don't know when, but I think the A's are going to Vegas. What else here? What else? CW, any new prospects you've been watching? NFL, I mean. Yeah. Stefan, there's a linebacker from Albany State named Stefan Pierre. Stefan Pierre. Stephan Pierre. Pierre. Look him up. Guy's a freaking baller. Bouncer says, Larry, what stood out to you in spring training? Casey freaking Schmidt. And the Giants have good pitching depth. But Casey Schmidt is the real deal. As good a prospect as I've seen probably the Giants have since Buster. He's real. Bouncer says, worth the trip? It was. It absolutely was worth the trip. Had a great time down there. Experienced Arizona with my sons. Anytime you spend time with your children, it's like you just feel like that was time well spent. And I've been wanting to do that spring training trip for a few years, thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage Company for making it a reality. and we had a great time there, and we're just really enjoying, the beginning of baseball and kind of the return to normalcy. Troc Talks, Larry, on baseball, we need to address the greatness of Barry Bonds. These kids in media don't even know. Well, I've got my son bought me a t-shirt for Christmas. It says Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. And I wore it to a game in Scottsdale. What can you say? I mean, Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter I've ever seen. Greatest hitter I've ever seen. No doubt. No thoughts. CW, any thoughts on the new signings? Yeah. The guy they signed today, John Feliciano, the center and guard, he's a starter. He's a really solid player. Hargrave, great addition. Yeah, I really like what they've done on the line of scrimmage. Mark Graves, thanks for all you do, Larry. Thanks, Mark, for the hat the other day. Appreciate that. Cool Breeze, Larry, can you get FP Santangelo or forgot ex-Giant pitcher on weekends after the Giants game? Bill Lasky, I think you're talking about? Yeah, absolutely. We can get those guys on. Bouncer says, Larry, you bring on Marty Lurie soon to preview the Giants season, ? And Marty can do early post game sometimes with you. We have already brought Marty on, and we absolutely will. Nothing but love for Marty. Mark Graves says, Bill Lasky. Would you like to have Lasky on? I absolutely would. The big right-hander. My dad, when I was a kid, I remember the day that he went to Bill Lasky's major league debut. It was a midweek day game against the Montreal Expos, 7-0 Giants. Lasky threw a 3-hit shutout. And I remember my dad talking about Bill Lasky. And then Bill Lasky became kind of the Giants ace there, him and Atlee Hammaker. And I remember just talked to Bill Lasky about that debut. And I'm just thinking, wow, it's like getting a chance to talk to this guy about his debut. My dad went to that game. And I remember as a kid just thinking that was the coolest thing. My dad skipped work to go see Bill Lasky pitch. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. Mark Graves says, you're welcome. Troc Talk says 500, best stat in baseball. Home run, stolen bases, Barry Bonds. Senior softball games. What about getting Carmichael Dave on to talk Kings? You know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to write that one down. I'm going to call him tomorrow. We'll get Carmichael Dave on. He'd be great. Bouncer. Marty Lurie is God to me. God? I don't know about that. Bouncer. God bless Marty Lurie. Listening to him for a long time. Marty's a good man. Senior softball games. Do you have beef with Carmichael Dave? No, not at all. No beef. If you know me, I don't have beef with a lot of people. I really don't. I say what I mean. I mean what I say. I say things directly to people. If we have beef, it's going to be face to face and short because I don't bury it. I don't hide how I feel. I tell people how I feel. Fish and chips. Marty Lurie, the king of baseball stories. He is. Big money music. Do you think Jason Poe has a chance to crack the lineup this year, Larry? I'd love to see Jason Poe as a backup fullback. Now that they brought in Feliciano and they have Jake Brendel, I'm not sure if Poe even makes the team. I think Poe's going to be under some pressure to make it. Bouncer says, get G-Rad on. That would be awesome. G-Rad is the man. Senior softball, love it. We need Grant Napier versus Cy. Both guys spit fire. Someone says, C-Dub says, how's Gary doing? I haven't talked to Gary in a long time, but I hope he's doing good. Bouncer. If Grant Napier and Cy on, oh no, the stream will crash. I got to get Grant on too. Get Grant on, talk a little hoops with Grant. All right, that's going to do it for us. As far as the rest of this week, let me tell you what we got cooking on. Sorry, I was muted there. 15,610 subscribers. 610. So if you're in the chat, hit like and subscribe. please do if you haven't subscribed yet. Bouncer says, I appreciate it, Larry. Trock Talk says, Larry, you going to do a meet and greet? We're talking about it. We should. We absolutely should. I'd love to do a meet and greet. One of my favorite things to do is to meet people, and especially people who are fans of the show. As far as the schedule for the week, that's what I was getting you guys. All right. Oh, here it is right here. I've printed out the schedule for the week. All right. This is what we got. So today is a Monday. We were on with Raj today at 1:00. We went on Grant Cohn's channel today at 3:00. We just did a post-game live Warriors Rockets live stream that I had down from 8 to 11. And sure enough, it's a little bit after 11. Tomorrow, we're going to be on Vish Kumaran's channel, and I believe right at 5:30 p.m. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a live stream on the channel of Amin the Dream, who's contacted me and said, hey, will you come on my channel? And I said, sure. So that's coming up tomorrow night. So we'll probably do some videos. We might do a live stream tomorrow in the daytime if something happens, but definitely Vish's channel at 5:30. Now, Wednesday's a busy day on the channel. In fact, it's going to be one of those all-day mothers on the channel. Wednesday at 11 a.m., Eric Froton from NBC Sports is going to stop by. He's an NFL scout, NFL draft scout. He's a college scout. We had him on a couple weeks ago. You know, it's pretty clear to me that the 49ers are going to draft some defensive ends. They've lost Ebukam. They've lost Menahue. They've lost Jordan Willis today to the Raiders. So Eric's going to stop by. He just did a whole breakdown on the defensive ends for the draft. So Wednesday at 11 a.m., Eric Froton stops by the Krueg show to break down just the defensive linemen, especially the defensive ends. So that's at 11 a.m. Then at 12:30 on Wednesday, Ryan Sakamoto is going to be on my channel. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft as well. He's another guy who covers the draft. He was in Indy for the Combine, and we'll talk about who he really likes and who I really like as far as the draft. That's Wednesday at 12:30. 2 p.m. Wednesday, Wayne Breezy is going to stop by on my channel. So we're going to go straight through basically 11 to 12, 12:30 to 1:30. Then Breezy's going to be on from 2 to 3. Then we get the Warrior Mavericks game, and we'll come on. We'll come on basically after the Warrior Mavericks game, probably around 7:30, with hopefully the same crew we had tonight. And then I'm also doing a stream right in the middle of the first half of the Warrior game on Niner Jess's channel. Then Thursday, Ryan Hensley is going to stop by on the channel at 11 a.m. Love Ryan. Just met him a few weeks ago, but I really love what he does. And then Jesse Naylor is coming on 6:00 on Thursday night. So Hensley at 11 a.m. on Thursday, Jesse Naylor, 6 p.m. on Thursday. And then Friday, Vish will be on my channel, and we're not sure exactly what time. So there you go. You're set up for the week on the Krueg Show. Anyway, thank you to everybody. Hit like and subscribe. And just thanks for supporting the channel, man. We're really enjoying doing the channel. We're 3 hours and 8 minutes into this live stream on the 20th of March. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Telmetrics. Of course, thanks to Pig and a Pickle, our sponsors. And thanks to all of you. And until next time, we'll see you tomorrow on the Krueg Show. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.